Move my mic. All right. And hi, guys. Welcome in and welcome back to the podcast. I've been meaning to watch that. I'm your host, Monica, and we are back again. New week, new topic, new guest every single week. And this week, I am very, very, very excited for our guest. Guys, she is described by Fame magazine as a natural born star. She is an entertainment reporter. She is someone who's very authentic when it comes to TikTok. And if you've seen her TikTok, I know you've seen it and stayed because she is very funny. She is very much herself. She is very much real, down to earth. And I've been a fan of hers for a while. And I'm so happy to have her on the podcast. I highly encourage you guys to check out her content. Her name is Big Teezus, and she's here with us today.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for us to dive into everything. You just don't know how excited I am to be here.
Yes. That's awesome. It's awesome. And guys, today we're going to be talking about Maid. It is a miniseries on Netflix starring Margaret Qualley and Andie MacDowell. And I was actually doing, in my research, I figured out that it was one of the most watched series on Netflix next to Squid Games, which is crazy to me because I actually hadn't heard anybody talk about Maid. So I'm very excited for us to talk about it today. But before we get to Maid, we're going to jump right into our segment, Media Mania, where we talk about new releases and entertainment news that has been circling the timeline. And the first thing I want to talk about is, of course, the Grammys happened recently. Yes, they did. And many people went away with awards and many people did not. But the one story that I would like to focus on in regards to the Grammys is Victoria Monet finally being nominated and winning.
Yes, I will say I am new to the train, but I'm glad I'm on it. It took me some time to get on it, but I am on and I am so happy to be there.
Yes. Victoria Monet is, as many of you may or may not know, she is a singer-songwriter. A lot of you may know her as like Ariana Grande's best friend because she has written a lot of Ariana Grande's hits, as well as she has written for like Fifth Harmony, T.I., Blackpink, a lot of well-known artists. And she is also a musician herself. And she had her commercial breakthrough with her hit single On My Mama, which hit, I think it got to like number 40 on Billboard's Top 100, and she got a nomination for Record of the Year, and she received like 7 nominations, and she won awards for Best New Actress, Best R&B Album, Best Engineered Album, and Non-Classical as well. So I just wanted to touch on the fact that she is so talented and so amazing. I've been a fan of hers for a very long time, and it feels like there's a sense of vindication you have within yourself where you're like, I knew it. I always knew you were going to be a star, and I was right.
And someone of so long, you're like, finally, like y'all are seeing what I've been seeing in this person for a long time. I wasn't on a train, like I said. I saw her perform, I think, at a festival on social media. She had like a brown outfit on, and she was going crazy on stage, and people were like, y'all need to pay attention. She's up next. And I was like, who is this? Because people don't dance anymore. People do not sing and dance and put on shows with hair just going. I was like, okay, who is this? And then I listened to a couple songs and I was like, all right, I'm hip. Didn't take much.
No, not at all. And a really interesting thing I found out about Victoria Monet is that when she was first coming onto the scene and making music, she used to open for Ariana Grande. And on Ariana Grande's Dangerous Woman tour, Victoria Monet, she's a very new artist. She doesn't have a record label backing her or anything like that. So she had to open for Ariana, perform, but she had no dancers, no backup singers, no band.
And she had to like put on a show just herself with what she had, and she had to learn from the bottom. Like, that's how kids used to do it at the mall. The boy they used to have nothing. They used to be at the mall and just put on a show with a few people in the crowd until it got big and people were screaming. But that's exactly how, like, the work that people used to put in for their craft.
Yes. So she really did start from the bottom, and now she's here. And I'm so happy for her, and I'm so incredibly proud of her and her achievements and her accomplishments, really. And also of Coco Jones as well, because she also won a Grammy. And, you know, if y'all saw Let It Shine on Disney Channel, then you already know this girl's been a star since she
Yes.
was very young.
It's well deserved. Her voice is beautiful. Like her voice.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. She know what she doing. Like like I know acting is in there, but like I hope she knows that like she will always have fans for her singing and just her voice alone.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm just happy for both of them. I'm glad that they both get the chance to be recognized on such a large stage as the Grammys and receive these awards, because it's not something that should be taken in vain. It's not something that's easy. It's something that comes with a lot of hard work. And Coco has been singing for like over 10 years. And she has been waiting for her moment. And her moment has come. And I just feel
she deserved it, you know, and for the songs, like, and we're just gonna get into the songs along, like, well deserved.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm just excited to see what's next for them. I'm just excited to see what else they have planned for them. And I know like a lot of things happen out of the Grammys, like JC's speech and then Taylor's speech, and then like Miley finally winning her first Grammy as well.
I was so happy. I was so happy. I was so proud of her. I was like, first.
Yeah. Really?
She's been putting out bops for years and like high quality songs too. For her to be 16, 17, like The Climb, that alone probably should have got something. Butterfly, Fly Away, like the Hannah Montana movie alone had really good songs. So good for her.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I just wanted to focus on those two things because those made me very happy, and I feel like it gives perspective to a lot of creatives and it gives perspective to a lot of people, because when you see all these like huge A-list stars, you don't really like know how they got there, or a lot of people don't know their story and what it took for you to get to those heights. And for Coco Jones and especially Victoria, there were people online claiming that Victoria was like an industry plant, and to that yes. And there are also people claiming that someone else is an industry plant. Renee Rapp is an industry plant as well.
I don't know about Renee Rapp too much, but I like her interview style. I will. But for Victoria, like I will say, not knowing her, like a lot of my friends do, you know, songs that may not be mainstream. Hearing her speak at the Grammys and hearing her story made me resonate with her more and like her more, because it's like, okay, you have to really overcome a lot. Then I'm starting to see little things on TikTok. I'm starting to see those Ariana Grande concert performances, and I'm starting to see like she's a mom and she's juggling all of this. And I've seen her interviews of like how after having her daughter, she didn't know what to go in the studio and talk about, so she ended up making on my mom. And I was like, okay, like I really like you, because like I'm starting to know more of you, and you seem to have like a beautiful personality. Like she seems like the sweetest person in the world. So I hats off to her for everything that she had to go through to get to the point that she's at now.
Yeah. And I did want to say, like, in terms of Renee Rapp, she has been in musical theater basically her whole life. She performed at the Jimmy Awards, which is kind of like the high school version of the Tonys, where basically all the best like musical theater kids perform there and like they try to win awards. And she performed there, and I think she did win an award. And then after that performance, she got cast as Regina George in Mean Girls the musical on Broadway. And then after that production stopped due to COVID, she then was on Sex Lives of College Girls on HBO Max. And then from there, she started releasing music. And then she got on, you know, Mean Girls, the movie that came out in 2024. So Renee Rapp isn't an industry plat by any means at all. And I feel like people just throw that term around for people that they don't know. You know, like this person is coming up, they're popular.
Of them at one time and they don't know their story. They're like industry plant. Yeah. It's like, no, like I've seen this person in concert 2 years ago. Like is it Elle Bonner? No, not Elle Bonner. Ella Mott doing Kehlani tours. And she was doing Booed Up like 2 years before it came out, I think. And I was singing it, and when she finally came out and it was everywhere, people were like, she's an industry plant and blah blah blah. I was like, she's been singing one song for 2 years, guys. Like I saw her open for Kehlani 2 years ago. Like, what are y'all talking about? So when people don't know what people have been through, they're just like, industry plant, you got it easy. You got it because of this. Like, it's so easy to say things like that.
just because you don't see someone come out the mud doesn't mean like they got there so easily. Like they're just dropped in there out of nowhere. It's very unlikely. I mean, for some people it happens, but like that's not the case for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm very, very, very proud of her, and I'm very happy for her. And it's very sweet how she like incorporates her daughter and all these little
Yes.
things.
She has
Yes.
matching dresses with her, and she like they were on the carpet like, you want lollipops? Like they were like, she's with her mom, and I loved every moment about that. I think she threw her
Yes.
Grammy party, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, she's serious, and I like it. Like, you know, this is a once in a lifetime thing. You don't know how many times you're gonna have this opportunity.
That's very true. And I just hold them in my heart, and I can't wait to see what else is next for them. So, on my love to Victoria Monet, on a not so bright note, I did see this trailer come up on my TikTok feed the other day, and I was just curious to see if you saw it and your opinion on it. But Wendy Williams, it appears that she is kind of coming back into the spotlight, and she's going to be talking about why she left her daytime talk show due to a lot of health problems, and she has a new Lifetime documentary coming out called Where is Wendy Williams? And essentially, the documentary follows Wendy and her family and friends, and basically just reflecting on like what happened to her and how she lost the show, and also speaking with her family and friends about like what's going on in her personal life and any kind of problems that she's been having. And the documentary isn't coming out until it's going to debut Saturday and Sunday, February 24th and 25th on Lifetime. So I was just wondering if you've heard about it and like what are your thoughts on that?
I saw the preview for it. I watched the original one, so there is like a maybe one, two, possibly three-parter of this already available on. I have Hulu Live, so I watch everything for Lifetime on Hulu Live. But there is like a beginner part already about like what her husband did, how she had the show when she got sick. She explains all of that. Now her body and like her behavior wasn't where it is now. So when she was explaining it, she kind of looked healthy. She kind of looked like she did on the show, the Wendy we were used to. But watching the preview that I watched, I was like, do I want to review this? Do I want to talk about this? Because I know Wendy Williams has like a lot of, you know, heat around her because she was so negative about people and she would gossip about people. But like she was a character played into what we as the viewers wanted. And so seeing even just a regular person like that, it's like, ooh, do I want to take advantage of whatever this is and talk about it and give it a platform? But also she's giving it a platform, so there must be a reason that she's doing it. But also as she said before, she's a commentator. She likes to talk. That's always been her job. Even as a kid, she loved to talk. As a child, she was the most talkative. So it could just be she wants to talk and tell her own story because she's told so many people's story in her lifetime that she knows how bad that can be if someone else has your story. So I'm thinking about reviewing it for my followers. We talk about Wendy Williams a lot. I like Wendy Williams. I liked her show. Very unfortunate everything that's happened to her, especially with her health and the fact that she can't even do the things that she loves, like radio and TV anymore. I plan on watching. I just don't know if I'm gonna review it. I'm skeptical on it.
Yeah. I feel I feel a little bit torn in the same way you do because I did used to watch Wendy Williams when she came on in the mornings, and I liked her video. I liked her show for what it was, but you know, when she had some negative opinions, I knew it was because like maybe she's like old school, but like nonetheless, like how you feel about certain things, she'll just say it, and she'll always be honest about how she feels. So you have to admire it to a certain extent, and I guess seeing her so abruptly leave the public and everything in regards to like her guardianship, her husband, like all those issues, it was very tough to see that like play out, especially in public, because even though she has made a career talking about other people's lives and talking about gossip and blind items and all that stuff, when it then becomes your life that's in the tabloids and it's your life that's in the headlines, it's a very different story. And previously it was like her husband cheating on her. Now that's difficult. That's hard. But then when it becomes like you're losing your livelihood and you're losing your job, that's something so hard to reconcile with, especially if it's something that you built up throughout your entire career. you've built your life around this. This is your platform. This is your show. This is something that you earn off of like a radio show. Like she really made history with the show that she had, and for her to lose it was really like sad. And I do want to watch the documentary to get a better understanding and just to see like where she is now in her life. But I also have the feeling of like, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can.
It's kind of weird. It's kind of like not even a segue to something else, but kind of like the Selena the Yolanda documentary, how everyone's like, why do we have this? You already confessed to this. Like, what is the need for this? And I'm to watch that too, because it's like, what could you tell us? You already admitted to all of this. You already said what it was. You've been in jail for all of these years. It is what it is. The facts. But I'm kind of like, maybe there's something new in there that we don't know about that I can learn about and possibly review. So I'm in that like weird space where my job is to report about things, but some things I'm kind of just like, what's the point of this? What information are we going to get from this? But I think Wendy Williams is an artist, kind of like we would see Beyonce or anybody else that would put out a documentary or a biography or anything like that. And she understands media. And again, like I said, telling her own story and the value in telling your own story. So I do think I'm just going to bypass it and go ahead and watch it, because I don't know her background stuff, but I don't think she would put out her story like this without, some meaning or some reasoning behind it. Like there's no reason to tell all of this if there's no reasoning behind it. So I'm going to watch it because I feel like, again, like I said, she's an artist and she's putting her art out there in some type of way. It's just not the visual that we would appreciate or that we're used to from Wendy Williams.
Yeah, that's very true. It being like it all acts as past to her life and what's going on with her is definitely something that isn't done oftentimes, because I feel like we're seeing a lot more like biopics happening and not as many like documentaries, or not a lot of like tell-alls really when it comes to like celebrities in their life. Like we did have like Britney and the documentaries that followed her guardianship, but when it comes to like, I guess, people that we know and people that are very controversial, like it's not very often that someone will like completely wear their heart on their sleeve and just like let you see like the good, the bad, and the ugly that's going on in their life. So there is that draw.
I think the only close thing that we've gotten to that for real was like maybe the Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston reality show. And it's like they kind of told us what was going on behind the scenes, but it was like as a viewer, you knew like, oh, they're, so I think that's as close as we've seen the good and bad for real.
Yeah, that's true. I honestly, I feel like I'm just gonna have to like wait and see.
You're gonna wait?
I feel like I might end up watching it. Like I think that I may end up watching it, and I might end up watching it with my mom because she knows who Wendy Williams is, and she watched her from time to time. And like sometimes when these things come out, and like I'm not sure like how I'm gonna feel, I just want to watch it with my mom because she's kind of like, she's Haitian, so she doesn't really have a filter. So if I'm watching something and I really don't know how to feel about it, I'll just look to her and be like, what do you think? She's like, Monica. It's like, she kind of like, she'll give me her opinion and I'll be like, I see what you mean. Okay.
Did you watch the first, I think it was 1 or 2. It could possibly be 3, but did you watch the first installments on Lifetime?
I didn't know there were already installments on Lifetime. That's the thing.
I think they came out, I want to say during COVID, maybe a little after COVID. I can be mistaken, but I want to say it's like 2 parts. And she goes in deep about what her husband did. People talk about how her husband used to come in the studio and threaten people. If an artist threatened her, he would pull up to the studio ready to fight them. Like they tell everything behind the scenes and why she stopped the show and how he's taking her money. So that was me learning about that part, and like from the horse's mouth itself, instead of from like an article or something like that. But I don't know what she's going to talk about now because it just looks like her health is bad.
Right. I think I'd have to look that up and see if I could watch it online, because I do have Hulu, but I don't have Hulu Live. So I don't know. We'll wait and see. But I'll definitely.
They're selective about what they put on Hulu Live.
Yeah, they are. I'll have to do my Googles and figure out if I can find that online and watch that. Oh, excuse me. But I'm just wishing the best for Wendy, honestly.
Yeah, I am. I wish she could come back in some type of capacity. Like, it's so many pop culture topics that come up, and I'm like, dang, like, I know Wendy was mean, but
honestly, like, so many things have happened in the past years that I need Wendy's opinion on.
Yeah,
like,
so many things have happened in the past 2 months of this year, and I'm like, where's Wendy Williams?
Yes. I need your opinion, Wendy. Like, I need to, like, when Kanye popped out with his new girl who looked exactly like Kim Kardashian, I was like, Wendy, we need you. Somebody send up the bat signal. Like, let her know.
Let her say something. Put her on YouTube. Put her somewhere. Get that chair and let her sit down.
Yeah. And I feel like with Wendy coming and having her show, it did open the doors for a lot of people to have a show. Like, obviously, Sherry Shepherd, who was the host of season 13 for the Wendy Williams show. And then there's Jennifer Hudson, and then The Real. I feel like The Real was supposed to counteract Wendy Williams, because Wendy Williams is very much like real, authentic. She's gonna say what she thinks. And The Real, even though the show's called The Real, how often is it that they are very like controversial? Yeah,
I haven't watched The Real. I'm a View type of girl, but which one was the one that was The Real? The one that Tia was on?
Yes,
I tried it when Tia was on, only because of Tia. I will say that was my draw. There was no other draw for me for that show because there was no controversial people. And how
what about Tamar?
Tamar, yes, but also I didn't see her as a talk show host. And usually, like, those people that sit at those head tables, like at that head seat, are like gonna hold that controversial topic. So when Tamar was there, I was like, okay, cool. But then when Tia was there, Tamara? It's Tamara. I'm so sorry. When Tamara was there, I was like, she's kind of softish. Like, she's very gentle. She's very like mom and hug you. Like, she's not a hard hitter like Tamar or Whoopi or Wendy. Like, we need those type of people at those.
Yeah, and I know that with Lonnie, she would try to. I think she tried to bring that factor into the show after Tamar left, but it wasn't the same because Tamar really did say what she thought. Because like I used to watch. Yes, she's very funny. And if you watch Braxton Family Values, you know, like,
yes,
if you're not gonna leave that man, let that man cheat in peace. I mean, if you know, you know.
If you know, you know. And for me, it was like her, but then Adrian is like a kind of a softie to me. Like, I never saw Adrian in a controversial topic type of field. When Amanda was on there, I was like, okay, that's a person. That's a person to be on there that's gonna say what she wants, how she wants, and the speed that she wants. Like, but I didn't think she had any heavy hitters to go against on that show for her to have those open opinions like she does.
And it's hard because, like, even though Lonnie can have that controversial take, she's not really gonna like have that bite to her opinions. So with Amanda on the show, she was the only person who really like was outspoken and like said what was on her mind and said everything with her chest. And then there's Jeannie, there's Adrian, and then there's Tamara, who are all gonna be softballs. So then it's only Amanda coming with like a very
she's the aggressor on the show, the angry person, and it's like, no, she's just doing what the show's platform is for, to have real conversations.
But
you have her surrounded by like softballs, and that's not what she needs. She needs like heavy hitters around her, at least one to go back and forth with.
Yeah, and that's what works with The View and The Real. No, The View and The Talk. Because everybody on there, they have their opinions. They're going to stand by their opinions. And if somebody disagrees, then somebody disagrees, but they'll defend it. You know what I mean? And no one's really going to, like, placate the conversation just to, like, make everything nice. You know, like, we're going to have a conversation. We're all grown women. We're not all going to see eye to eye, but we're going to talk about it.
Whoopi might filter it a little bit and be like, hey, remember, this is Disney. Like, remember, we got rules. But for the most part, if Sonny has a problem with something, if Sonny has a problem with Alyssa and they don't like each other and they're going head to head for 2 commercial breaks, they let them have it. They're like, okay, what's the solution that you guys got? Y'all don't have one. We'll get back to it later. Like, but it's the ability for Sonny being a lawyer and Alyssa, I forget what Alyssa does, but them having that type of conversation and being able to go to head because they have that education, they have that bite, they have that drive. But Amanda didn't have anybody. Now, would Amanda do good on The View? I don't think so, because like her views are so much different, and I feel like she would go somewhere else with it. But I think she does need to be on a platform with strong women holding a conversation and like having that area to speak.
Yeah, that's very true. She does need that. And I mean, Amanda's pretty set. Like, she has her Instagram live, she has her podcast. Yeah. She's more than good.
Making with these people, like, she's good.
I mean, there was a reason why they asked her to be on the show. Obviously, she has a draw. So I would love to see her in some kind of capacity on like late night, if not a morning show, because I feel like late night may work a little bit better for her. But I feel like it. But
late night would be good. I think late night on like, I don't want to say a Comedy Central or anything because it would be serious, obviously, but it would have some funny undertones to it. I don't think BET Plus is the platform. I think maybe like where is I can't think, Trevor Noah. Where's Trevor Noah?
Trevor Noah was on Comedy Central. Now he has a podcast on Spotify.
So. Okay. Maybe Comedy Central, but I think she would have only like a little bit of comedic undertone. I think everything else would be pretty hard hitting and serious topics. And I think she would like really get in her, like her guests, like not in a rude way, but like in a really trying to make their mind go and figure out where they are on certain topics. I think she would be really good.
I feel like she kind of be like, I don't want to be rude in this, but like the opposite of Drew Barrymore. Where Drew Barrymore is like,
she's Drew's like holding your hand and like
braiding your hair, sitting in your lap.
Oh, how do you feel about this? Let's get deeper into it.
Mm-hmm. Like, let's really dive into this. Like, let's figure out what's going on. You know, how do you feel?
Like Amanda wouldn't care if you cried. Drew's gonna be like, "Oh my God, do you need a hug? Here's some tissue."
Yeah. Amanda would be like, "Let's talk about this response you're having. Why are you crying? Why do you feel this emotion?
You think I care about your tears?"
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Yeah. But can't wait to see what happens to the Wendy Williams biopic. And there have been a couple of new releases that have been announced recently. X-Men 97 is coming out. It is supposed to be coming out at the end of March, I believe, and it'll be streaming on Disney Plus. And I think that this is basically like a continuation of the X-Men, the animated series that ran from 1992 to 1997 on Fox. So it's basically picking up where things left off with the original show.
Okay.
And then the Umbrella Academy is coming back for their 4th and final season, which is great. I'm going to be honest. I stopped watching Umbrella Academy after season 2 because...
I'm going to be honest. I didn't go past episode 1, but that was just me.
Episode 1?
But I kept up with like the trends and the conversation that was going on like Twitter and everything.
That's the same thing as watching it?
Or X, I should say. But I kept
up... the same thing as watching it.
I kept up with the conversation, so I knew what was going on. But no, I didn't watch it.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like for season 3, I was thinking about jumping in and watching it, but I just felt like, this twist. Like there's a twist at the end of season 2 that obviously, like, you know, makes you think, oh, I can't wait for season 3. But in my mind, I was just kind of like, but do I really need to watch it? Like
this is the actor from Juno, correct?
Yes, Elliot Page.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, the show, The Umbrella Academy, is about these 7 kids who were all born on the same day and all had these special powers. And so this rich man went around the world and adopted all these kids and started training them to be superheroes. And he was a really terrible dad. And they had a robot mom and a monkey that raised them. And then one day, all the kids left, except one kid, Luther. He stayed with the dad, but the dad put him on Mars, on the moon, for like some special mission. And then one day the dad died, so they all went back home for the funeral. And then one of their siblings went missing, I think, on one of the missions. And then the sibling just comes back out of nowhere, like literally out of portal out of the sky. And he's like, guys, the world's gonna end in 7 days. Like, we have to save the world. And I think that's the plot for every single season. Like, the world is going to end.
I'm slightly intrigued, maybe.
You said you watched the first episode, though. That's literally the first episode.
watch the first episode and kind of just like, so I'm a person that like when I watch stuff, I watch it to like see what it's like, and then I go back and watch it to actually comprehend what I'm watching and see everything. Because like, okay, so I might watch something the first time and be like, oh, it's beautiful, look at that artwork, look at that, and not really pay attention to the full story because I'm just like looking at other stuff. Yes, that's why I have a chaotic page. That's why I recap the page. Because okay, so let me give you an example. So like the Maid,
okay.
We're gonna jump into that soon, but for the Maid, like when I first watched the first time, it was during COVID, so it was like the hype of seeing it on social media. So I was like, oh, let me check it out, and I watched it for what it was, just like a show, and went through it. I binged it, and I was set. Like I didn't really comprehend anything. Not that it was a bad show. It was just like I was just watching it to be like I watched it. So then I went back and I was like, okay, episode 1. All right, so this is the character, this is her storyline, blah, blah, blah. So then I really get into like the logistics of the actual episode. And I'm kind of like that with music too. Like if I'm listening to Kanye's new album, for example, I listen to the beat because he's a producer before anything. So I'm not listening to his lyrics at all. I'm listening to what beat is going on. Can it catch me? How do I feel listening to it? What did he sample? Like that's what I'm going through. And then a second listen is like, okay, what is he saying in the words? What are the lyrics? What's the chorus? How is he tying all of this together to get a firm understanding? But that first listen, I'm music. I'm like, what is this beat like? What did he get some Chicago inspiration? Did he get African inspiration? I'm listening solely for the beat purposes before I'm listening for the lyricism. If that makes sense.
I think that I get what you're saying because I know a lot of other people that like also like review TV and movies are the same way where they'll watch a show or movie first and they'll just like watch it and the second time around they will take notes and they'll like pause things and like like look at little details.
And it's because you can't be fully present and like really pay attention to everything because you want to watch it for enjoyment the first time. Because as someone that does take notes, like I'll take like 6 pages of a movie if I'm watching it to make sure I get the characters, the setting, the dates. I don't want to say anything wrong. So the second time I'm going, it's not fun. It's not enjoyable. It's not like this breath of fresh air compared to the first time when I'm just like dumbly watching, like, wow, this is so good. But like when I have to go back, then I'm like, okay. And then Kayla went to the movies and the movies, da 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 da. So like once I have to go back for that, it kind of takes away that spark of the movie. So I like to dumbly binge things first and then go back and fully comprehend what's going on.
Okay, I get what you're saying now.
Once you like, I watched American Fiction yesterday, and I got to enjoy it because I wasn't like, oh, I'm going in to review this. So it was like really me watching it and getting like serious laughs, and like I really fell in love with the characters. I didn't finish it yet, but like it was really like enjoying to watch for the very first time compared to if I would have went into it like, oh, I'm gonna watch this and review it for my show, then I would have had to pause it every 30 seconds and been like, okay, and then and that's not fun. It takes away from the whole experience, honestly.
Right.
Watching it dumbly and just being like, and then going back and be like, oh, that was her mom. Like, oh, okay, cool. Like that makes it a little better sometimes, but just watch it dumbly first. If you're reviewing movies, for me, makes it better.
Got it. I totally get what you're saying. I see what you mean there. I think when I watch things, like when I'm watching TV and movies, I'm already kind of like, not always, but like if it's a new release, and because now I've started like writing for like different blogs, I try to keep up now with like more new releases, especially on streaming services. And when I start watching it, I'm just kind of like noting little things, because like if you watch certain genres like horror, drama, anime, whatever it might be, there are always certain elements that follow each show, and there are always like those staples that kind of stand out to you. So when you're watching something new, I always like draw from those things whenever I have to review it. Like recently, I watched a new anime series on Netflix called Delicious in Dungeon because I planned on reviewing it, and I listened to it. I was watching it because one of my favorite Twitch streamers, he is like a voice actor, and he did the English dub. So when I was watching it, I was like noting like how the way they present the food in the show, It's very similar to how they present the food at like Studio Ghibli movies. It's like it's very appetizing, it looks very fresh, it's like very picturesque, and then like the adventure, the humor, the comedy, and like the different kind of like elements to like the characters. And I just kind of categorize it in my brain. I'm like, okay, and I just like kind of write it out. And like, you know how people like when they wake up in the morning they just like word vomit when they journal, they just like write everything down. That's how I am with reviews. I'm just like, I'm writing everything I remember about this movie, everything I thought, everything I felt, and then like from there we just edit it. So that's how I watch things.
To review, we don't get to watch movies like normal.
Yeah.
We don't. It's always crazy when people are in my comments like, "Can you watch this? Can you watch?" I'm like, "Do y'all know how long it takes to sit and watch something and like make sure I'm getting things right, and then like going to find pictures online to tell a story? Like, it's not that simple, especially if you want me to tell it right. Like, if you want me to really make you feel like you watched it and I have an understanding of what I watch, I need to really watch this. And it's not like a 30-minute thing. These are like 3-hour movies.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's what I love about your TikToks, because when you are talking about things, whether it was like the Grammys or like a TV show or a movie, I can see that you understand it so deeply and intricately. So when you're like jumping from point to point to point, it's so funny to me because I'm like, that's exactly what I thought when I was watching that. Like, you read my mind.
And I always laugh a little bit because I'm like, okay, who's going to get this pop culture reference? Who's going to get this movie reference? Are they going to be like, what are you talking about? And then when you guys get it, yes.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel on that. Okay, so The Umbrella Academy, both of us, neither of us are probably going to watch it. But, you know, for those who care, it's coming out very soon, just so you know.
Let you know.
Yeah, I think it's coming out in August, actually. So, I mean, you guys have plenty of time to, like, rewatch the series before the... Yeah, more than enough time. And then Fantastic Four, the casting was announced for Fantastic Four, so it's been solidified. And a lot of people are talking about it. Let me see, because I have the article in front of me. So Pedro Pascal is playing Reed Richards. Vanessa Kirby is playing Sue Storm. Joseph Quinn is playing Johnny Storm. And Ebon Moss-Bachrach is playing Ben Grimm, a.k.a. The Thing. And the movie is set to come out July 25th, 2025.
Is it going to be in theaters or streaming?
It's going to be in theaters, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that online and it caught my eye because Cousin from The Bear is, and I'm just getting into The Bear. I love it. I'm so now I can't get out. I love it.
It's so good.
I was driving in Chicago and I pulled over. My friends don't watch it. I pulled over in front of the actual restaurant because I was turning the corner. I was like, that's Mr. Beast. And I pulled over and they were like, why are you pulling over? I was like, y'all don't watch The Bear? Like, what are y'all talking about?
Oh my gosh. I was so jealous because I do love the show The Bear. It's honestly one of the most anxiety-ridden shows I've ever watched. And yet I love even more for that.
It's so calm to me. Like when people are in my comments, like, what are you talking about? I was like, it's so calm. Like this is regular Chicago. Like it's very loud and like everything's the whole time. You have to talk in a meeting while the train is like right there and people are yelling outside. That's how it is. So like for me, once I finally got into it, I was like, oh, I don't know what y'all talking about. They're not loud. This is normal.
Honestly, when I was watching the restaurant scenes, it reminded me of working in a restaurant, and I was like, this is too real for me. This, like, when I saw, like, Jeremy Allen White, for me personally, looks exactly like every single line cook I've ever met. Like, every white line cook looks like Jeremy Allen White. Like, even if they don't have the same body type, like, his attitude, his personality, the way he never smiles, and he doesn't, like, he's just, like, completely, like, get to work! Like,
I heard they had to like actually train at a restaurant before. And I've seen a lot of comments of people who are actual chefs. Like, this is how it really is. Like, this is authentic. They got it right.
They are cooking on the show. They are doing it. Like, they are chopping those vegetables. Like, it is real. Down to, like, this, every single detail. I love that about the show. Everything, like, the episodes that focus on certain characters, like season 2, so good. And also, I love... Go ahead.
I'm just getting into it. Like I just started.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. I'm so sorry.
People have been saying get ready for the Thanksgiving episode, so like I've been trying to hurry up so I can.
Don't hurry up. Just savor it. Just savor the show. Oh my god. Yeah, it's a phenomenal show. Like the first season is so great, and I personally love The Bear so much because I feel like the first season was really good, but didn't really have like the same commercial success as other shows that FX do. And I feel like The Bear is a perfect study for like new shows in the year of the 2000s, of the 2020s, because we see so many shows that come out in like the first season. Streaming services, networks, studios expect the show to be like a hit the second the show comes out, and that's very unlikely, and that is a ridiculous precedent to set for every single new show you have. And so it is more like, honestly, it makes more sense for you to have a show have one season and then another season, because people are more likely to watch something if you renew it, because if there's more to
especially those shows with like 8 episodes or 10 episodes. Like you don't even have 20 something episodes for me to really judge this show by or really lock in for. And it's only an hour. You got 8 episodes. Like what am I supposed to get out of this? You're not telling me a story in 8 episodes of a season.
Exactly. Yeah. But I'm glad you love The Bear. I'm very happy.
I rewatched it maybe, I think the first time I kind of just zoned out. I was maybe doing my hair and I was like, I don't see the hype. And then the second time I like sat there, no phone, no doing anything. And I was like, damn, this show is really good. Like, this is like the acting is good. And I think I was a little nervous because it's based in Chicago. I'm very judgmental as a Chicagoan, very judgmental of something that's being filmed in our city. Like, do you have accent right? Do you have where are you at? Where are you saying you're on the south side and you're on the suburbs? Like, I no, don't do that. And so that part, and then him being lip and still being based in Chicago, I was like, oh, this is just lip. Like, I don't want to see him play lip again. Like he's gonna be homeless. And I like judged it way before fully watching it. And so once I gave it a chance, I was like, okay, like I see. And Io, oh my God. Amazing. I was like, because everybody was talking about her. They was like, she's awkward and da 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 da. And I was like, okay, let me check it out. And I was like, she's not awkward. I mean, she's awkward, but like, I like her.
Endearing. Yeah, it's endearing. Leave my girl alone. Okay.
I can't remember his name. The one that wants to make donuts.
Marcus?
Yes. I love him. The instant when he like just wanted to learn. And I was like, he just wants to learn.
Oh my gosh.
He wants to do everything properly. He wants to be a proper chef. He wants to be a proper cook. And I saw that in him, like the very first episode. The moment they told him he did something right, he was like, okay, it was like that spark in his eye. And you were like, okay, he's about to get serious. Him sleeping there. Okay, I'm not gonna tell everybody everything, but y'all, it's so good.
I love him so much. Honestly, he is one of my favorites of the show, especially Tina. Like season 2, you'll see a whole turnaround for Tina. Like, you're gonna be rooting for her.
So it's such a good show, and I like that there's not a lot of cast members. Like, I can really lock in with every cast member because it's not a lot. I love Cousin. Because I know people in Chicago who run their businesses like that. Like I think it was that first episode or second episode when they had that that game tournament and he had to go out there and get the crowd together. I was like, that's really how people run businesses downtown. They really don't care. They'll literally be like, you're gonna go in my establishment, act like you got you're gonna buy 3 drinks, and then you're gonna leave.
Exactly. Oh gosh, love that. Okay, and then the last new release we'll like talk about is Invincible. Season 2, part 2 comes back in March. I still don't know why they split the show up into 2 parts, but they did that, so that's coming out. Are you watching Invincible by any chance?
No, how many episodes is in a season for them to split it up like that?
I think there are 10 episodes, either 8 or 10 episodes in the season. It's a very, very good show. It's animated, and it is pretty graphic. I don't know why, but a lot of Amazon Prime shows are, like, very graphic. It's very... Yeah. And it's not that different from, like, Netflix shows, but Amazon Prime doesn't have as many shows. So for most of your heavy hitters to be, like, incredibly violent and graphic, it's just kind of like, this is a strange common denominator for you to have.
I think they're trying probably like, was it Showtime back in the day that probably had like frontal nudity, and or HBO? Maybe they're trying to be like that division of like Netflix is kind of like, PG-13-esque. We're gonna just be where you can watch everything you want to watch graphically. So maybe they're taking that stance compared to the other streaming platforms.
Yeah, that just makes sense. It could be that. Yes, but I'm excited for Invincible to come back because I love the show, and I haven't been watching season 2 yet because I'm waiting for the whole season to drop, and then I'm gonna binge it. Like, I'm gonna start from season 1 and then get all the way to season 2, which I feel like is gonna like epically destroy me, but I'm very excited and I cannot wait. So, guys, that was Media Mania. So, we're going to jump right into our conversation about Maid. Maid is a Netflix series, stars Margaret Qualley as the main character. She plays Alexandra Alex Russell. And Maid is a show about a young girl who is a mother. And one day, she's had enough. Her boyfriend, who has been abusive, basically emotionally abusive to her, she decides to leave him, take her daughter, and try and go at it on her own. And the show is essentially following her life and everything that comes up from her leaving him and all the struggles she has to deal with. And the show is based off of a memoir by Stephanie Land called Maid, Hard Work, Low Pay, and a Mother's Will to Survive. And this show is a very popular show that came out on Netflix. It was released back in 2020, right? Or like...
I think 2021, one of those, 2020 or 2021. It was COVID times for sure.
Okay, 2021, yeah. But I feel like Maid is like the perfect show of like the catch-22 of being poor, like having to like struggle and make it on your own, but also having to deal with like the expenses that come up in life and like all the things you have to deal with and like all these other stuff. And honestly, Maid is such a powerful show for me. It's such an amazing show. It's so well written and it's so intricate, but I feel like it is the most realistic depiction I've seen of what it's like to be like a single mother, to be a survivor of like domestic abuse, to be on your own and trying to survive it on your own, and just showing like how it's not that easy to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, because Alex, with all the things that she has to deal with, she shows such amazing and I feel like such incredible resolve and determination in everything that she does. And I find it very admirable. And I just love the show so much. Like, it was something that I really enjoyed. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the simplicity of the acting because it kind of was like documentary style. If you really look at it, it wasn't like, it didn't seem like a show. It didn't seem scripted. It didn't seem like actors. It seemed like this was her real life. This was real anxiety and panic that she had. And she was really, fighting for her daughter's safety. And mom had her problems. And, everything was like hitting her every day. And it didn't seem like a TV show. It literally seemed like she had some documentary cameras following her around and they were getting into what it's like to be a domestic violence victim.
Yeah. So from the start of the show, it's Alex. She leaves her boyfriend and she's basically going to, I think it's like an aid office or something. She's going to a social worker, and the social worker tells her that she needs 2 pay stubs to qualify for subsidized housing, and she decides to get a job as value maids. And then she has to go work for this lady, Regina, who lives on this island or have to get a ferry to go to. And my surprise when I see Anika Rose in this show, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
Hey, girl.
And she that girl a run for her buddy the first couple days.
Yep. She did not like her.
No, but later on, they grew into each other, and you see later on how women have each other's back through and through, and that you don't even have to tell. She didn't have to tell Anika Noni Rose's character what was going on. She figured it out, and she was like, I'm gonna make sure you get some type of sign from me to call me, and you call me when you can. So it really does highlight how women, in the darkest times, will see other women and assist them when they can.
Yeah. And that's very important because it's very hard to ask for help, especially in those circumstances. Because for Alex, even though her boyfriend like never hit her or hurt her physically, he has like demeaned her and he makes her feel less than and worthless, and she just feels safe in the home that she's in with him. And she doesn't want to like put that on Regina because she's a maid, she's there to work, she's there to just like, do her job. But if you faint in my house on like the first day, it's like,
right.
What's going on, girl? You okay?
Okay.
Are you
good? Do you need something? You need water? Yeah. What's going on? Like,
I'll help you out if you need it, really.
Yeah, I ended up watching the first episode, and then while I was getting ready for the podcast, I ended up doing some research, and I found a YouTube channel for a domestic violence home or a resource center, and they watched it along with each other with the screen showing, and they kind of just like talked us through, and they were like, this is real panic, this is real anxiety. She's watching him sleep. So in the beginning episodes, she's kind of like laying in bed, but she's awake and she's watching him breathing. And they kind of, most domestic violence victims, they say lack of sleep was one of their biggest things because they don't know what's going to happen when they go to sleep and who they're going to have to protect or if they can protect themselves. So they're like, this first scene is so accurate. Her trying to slip out of the bed, her getting to her car, that panic, that anxiety as a viewer that I feel of her trying to escape and get her child out of there. Yeah. Something that was so real. And then them telling her, I think it was like when she went to the A office, they were like, for her to get her child in daycare, she had to have 2 pay stubs, but she needs to put her child in daycare in order to get a job. So like, what do y'all want her to do? Like she's saying she's funny. And then I think they also talked about how she didn't say she was abused because she didn't know how to say, I haven't been hit, but he does do this. And so she didn't know to put the word abuse to it because that's not usually what's shown or talked about in terms of abuse.
Yeah, that is true. I did watch that. I did see that clip also in my research. And I think there are so many parts about the show that when I was watching it, it's just like in my head, I'm like, I would have never thought of that. Like when it comes to like domestic violence, like I would have never considered that. Like her friend Danielle, the friend that she meets when she finally gets into like housing, Danielle is someone who's like super kind, super nice. She seems like someone who's very extroverted, and it's like, oh, she's a new buddy, she's a new pal. It's like this happens every time. Things just seem to get easier for Alex, and things seem to like be getting a little bit better. Like she can breathe, and then things go wrong, and it sucks because like Danielle was really the person who had her back because this is a long conversation, but like when it was Regina was upset with the way that Alex had cleaned her chairs, like the patio furniture, and so Danielle told her to steal her dog or like do something to her, and then Alex was like, no, of course not. And then what does Danielle do?
Always be funny to me.
What does she do? She stole the dog.
Took that dog right up out of here.
Right, exactly. Snatched that dog right up. And then, she calls Regina and lets her know, like, I found your dog. And it's so... I was, like, taken aback by it because Regina seems so grateful and so happy to just get the dog. And I'm like, oh, that's so nice. And then, like, Alex looks at her. She's like, you don't remember me, do you? And I'm like, oh, she doesn't remember her. I was thinking like, wow.
I remember watching that part and I was in the back of my head like, well, there's a little justification to stealing her dog because she didn't even know who you were. She didn't even look at you as a person. Like, she didn't know who you were. She just let some stranger in her house to clean up.
That's crazy. That, honestly, I love Danielle so much. And it was sad to see her go because, she left. And then it's so interesting because the show is so thorough, I guess is what I should say, because we see Alex just kind of like I forget what she was doing at this point in the show, but she sees Danielle again, just out and about, and she says hi to her, and then Danielle like recognizes her, but then when her boyfriend like steps into frame, she like pretends like she doesn't know who she is. And that is like heartbreaking because of course Alex wants to say something and like try to snap her out of it, but at that point, like at any point in the show, Alex got her own stuff going on and she can help you, girl.
And if she don't have to worry about her boyfriend keeping up with her daughter, best believe her mom is gonna have something going on, and Alex is gonna need to help in some type of capacity. But even getting back to the friends, like even her friend, the original friend of their friend group, with her boyfriend, the one that ended up getting engaged and or married.
Oh my God.
If my friend tells me anything, like if you, all you have to say is I'm leaving and I'm taking my child. Right. And that's what I need to hear. Like the questioning, the acting like your friend is dramatic, like all of that. I was like, are you her friend or are you her boyfriend's friend? Like,
exactly. Like, what is it really?
Who do you support? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then for her to even have problems with her at the wedding at the bar when she was like, yeah, sure, you can use my computer. Or when she was like, I'm not with Sean again, like I'm just living with him. She was like, if that's what you're going with, yes, I need to stay with him. How about as my friend, you ask, what do I need? What assistance do I need? Like saying that he thinks that we're together, like I don't need that. Like I'm trying to go to school. I'm trying to figure things out. Like I know my situation at home. Like if you're my friend, be my friend. But what you're doing, it's not helping the situation.
Yeah. She is not a girl's girl.
No.
No. Because
my you just have been like, I'm taking my child. Okay, where? Do you need money? I'll shut my mouth. He won't know nothing. Like
exactly.
Very simple.
It's so sad because she went to her friend's house in the first episode, and then he just like pulls up. It's like, are we not friends? Like, do I not matter to you?
And everybody in the narrative that she had his kid, it was just so annoying to me because it's like most 9 times out of 10, nobody has a problem if a kid's with their mom 24/7. But when you want to run away from something, then it's like, well, it's his kid too. But okay, so like any other time, y'all assume that a woman's supposed to have a child 24/7. I'm trying to take my child with me, but now it's his kids too. Like, which one is it, guys?
And when he got custody of that child, what was he doing? Not raising the kid.
Exactly. She didn't have any money. She didn't have anything. She would take that little girl outside and we're going on a bear hunt. We're going to like they had a little song, they had a little routine, like they did their thing in the woods, and she had something. Like they didn't have toys, they didn't have, excitement, but she, she was like, okay, I'm gonna take you outside to the backyard and we're gonna learn about the grass. We're gonna learn about this. She was doing something with her where the focus wasn't her sitting in the house with her mom who's depressed and scared and has anxiety and is living in this bad environment. Like if I was a child, other than the fact that the dad was yelling here and there and throwing stuff, I would think everything was sweet. Like my mom takes me around, we be going outside, like I'm outside all the time.
Yeah. And it's also so hypocritical that he was so worried about Maddie when she told him, when they first started dating and she worked at the coffee shop, like, she's pregnant, and she decided to not go forward with an abortion. Like, he didn't want to have a kid in the first place. And now that he has this kid, he uses the child as a bargaining tool to keep her around. And not to take care of the child, not to raise the child, not to feed the child, not to provide the child with anything that will, help them in any kind of way. Like, being there for them, being there as a father. Like, you just want to keep your little picturesque family together so that you can feel good about it, so you can feel man enough.
Even the little part of her saying, I don't want my birth dad. The main character didn't want her birth dad around her child. She was like, hey, I don't want him around. Like, can we keep him around? And Sean was kind of like, okay, cool. He kicked him out the first time. And then he brings him over for beer and they're sitting at the table. He's like, we're having dinner. You need to sit down. Like, I just told you, I don't have to explain to you why someone can't be around our child. It's our child. And I'm telling you, this person doesn't need to be around. You should just take it for that. But now you're flaunting this person that I already said is unsafe to be around our child, the same child you didn't want in the first place. Like, it was just so much that she just needed to understand, like, he doesn't have to put his hands on you to abuse you. Like, him bringing around in your house that you have deemed, that can't be around your child. Like, anybody will bring somebody around your child after you say blatantly, hey, this person can't be around our children. Like, and you bring them around all happy-go-lucky to rub it in my face that I don't have the power or the strength to kick them out. Like, that's abuse, and it's okay to run away from that.
Yeah. It's incredibly disrespectful for him to do that because Alex only went to her father after the subsidized housing unit she was in had black mold in it. And Maddie was getting sick, and she didn't want to stay there anymore. So she went to her father. And it's clear that like her and her dad don't have like the greatest relationship. You know, like when she went to go to Regina's house, I think it was the first episode, to clean the patio furniture, and they got into that car accident. She calls her dad to pick her up, and it's very clear like there is some kind of tension. And of course, like there's no mention of her dad in the start of the show. We just see her mom, and the dad just seems to like he kind of has like the freedom to just kind of like show up whenever she calls him, and it's clear that she only calls him as like a last resort. So when she went to go live with them, I was kind of like surprised by it because he seems like just like an old guy, Also, the dad is played by Charlie, who's the dad from Twilight, and like in my head, I was kind of like, "Oh my gosh, it's this guy! Wow!"
But yeah, they 100% had a transactional relationship. There was no emotion there. There was no like you can't see them hugging or "Dad, I love you." But also when Sean told her like sit down and have dinner, like any man raising their voice to someone's daughter, like the father is gonna be like, "Who you yelling at? Like this how you talk to her in regular occurrence?" And he's just like, "Well,
doesn't say nothing."
Like whatever, like pass me another beer. Like when we get home together, I'll come back around. Like he didn't have even like the decency to protect her when he can visibly see that somebody is being abusive towards her. But also that's probably how he runs his house too. So he's probably like whatever.
And the thing is that like we don't even know why Alex has like this distance between her dad until she goes to clean that one house that apparently was the home to possibly a serial killer. And she finds the crawl space, and when she goes into the crawl space, she kind of has like a panic attack, but she remembers something from her childhood. And then when she goes back into that crawl space when they're done cleaning the house, I guess she tries to like re-enter it so that she can get back into like the mindset that she was, because she's trying to like unlock some kind of memory, because a lot of times like through trauma you forget a lot of things from your childhood because your brain doesn't want you to remember it, and they want like protect you from it. But she remembers her being locked in a cupboard because her dad was yelling at her mom, and she remembers her mom opening the cupboard to like tell her it's going to be okay. So then when she remembers that memory, she goes back to Charlie's house, and she's like taking her daughter, taking their stuff, and like, we're leaving, we're getting out of here, we're gone. And then from then on, whenever we see her birth dad, he is like kind of obviously feeling awkward because now she like obviously remembers how he was when he was with her and her mom. And I don't know if the show doesn't tell us if he's still that way, but like he's supposed to be like reformed. He goes to Bible study, he goes to church, and like
I feel like if you've been that way, you can't reform from that. My opinion, there's gonna be something that triggers you with somebody. So in my opinion, he was probably like that. But also, like, again, I shouldn't have to tell you that Maddie can't be around him for you to respect my wishes. Like, but also if Sean's hanging around him like that, and he knows and he gets a sense of what Sean is like towards his daughter, and he's okay with that, then I think he's probably still like that to a extent.
The thing is that men will protect each other. They'll always give each other the benefit of the doubt because they understand each other better than they understand women, you know? And it is possible that he is that way with like his current wife, you know what I mean? And I don't know, for me, it was just like, it's so interesting to watch the show because whenever you watch other movies or TV shows about like domestic abuse or like domestic violence, they mainly focus on like, of course, the victim. And this show shows you the victim, but also the perpetrator of the abuse. And, after Sean gets full custody of Maddie, you see that he keeps going to the bar. He skips his bartending shifts. And then one day Alex finds him at the beach drunk. And he asks her, like, why don't you like me anymore? And in my head, I'm like, wrong question. Why are you here?
Do you want the long list or the short list?
Like, you want the real answer? I'll give you the real answer. She won't, but I will.
And then the whole, like, just the ordeal with her mom and her mom having a mental illness and living in that trailer and the man that she was living with. And it was like, no matter what Alex had going on in the day, if she finally had $10 to her name, it was like her mom had a problem and she got to spend that $10 to go to her mom. It was like, dang, girl, you can't have a good day to save your life.
That is so true. It was even worse when they found out that Basil, or like Basil, I don't know, the guy that her mom married, disappeared.
Like, and then he got her out of the mental institute. And Alex was like, so he can just do that? Like, what are we doing?
Right. And then he put his name on Paula's like home on the deed, and then started renting out her home like an Airbnb.
Yes. Insanity. And it's just like, before this, I think of course, Lifetime movies or, a few, Tyler Perry movies might highlight a little bit of domestic violence. But I think before this, Enough was that movie that my generation saw domestic violence as physically, like putting your hands on somebody and, holding them back from their family, and they're not working, they're at home all day. So like all of those, visible things that people are used to seeing in a movie or just in general from a victim were in a movie for Enough. But we finally got to see the victim fight back and how she did the movie Enough. So I think that was like my only like really focus. And to an extent, I think the movie was glamorized because it was J-Lo and she's this pretty woman and, she had this glamorous life and everything like that. And she had a family. I remember her dad helped her escape. Like I think that one night they honked the horn and her dad and family came and they put her in a hotel and they gave her money. She was able to go to this friend house and this friend house, but that was like the glamorized version. Alex's version is like the real life version. Like one, he didn't put his hands on her per se. He threw stuff, but he didn't put his hands on her. And two, she didn't have anybody to come get her in the middle of the night. She didn't have anybody to give her hotel money. She didn't have anybody to do anything for her. And then she has the system. They're like, yeah, you need to do this, this, and this. And you're not a victim, really. Like, you're kind of a victim, but not a victim. And also, you need a job to get childcare, and you need to get childcare in order to get a job. And we don't really have anything for you. Figured it out and then come back. So this was like the real life compared to J-Lo, who was like glamorized and everything like that. So I did like this version a little bit more because this is like on my level. Like, okay, if something happened to me, this is the steps I really have to go through, compared to J-Lo, where it was like she asked her dad, or I think it was her stepdad or something, for money, and he gave her like $1,000. Like, it's like, here you go, I'll help you. Like, we'll get you out of here. They taped up her wounds and stuff. But this girl is literally like living in a place where she's shopping in a back room with stuff people left from their kids and their time there. And she doesn't have to pay for anything. They have fake tags, but it's just to make them feel like they still have a real life. And it's like, okay, this is real life. This is how it really is probably for victims, compared to, not to, lessen anybody's pain, but compared to what showed in that movie, like this is more real life.
Yeah. I think that the first example with Enough, that is the version of domestic violence that people think happens, but they have never experienced it and they don't truly know like what it's like. And that's also the only version of domestic violence that they'll really accept, because if the movie Enough was like actually set in the real world, how likely would it be that Jennifer Lopez's like father would believe her and help her out? Because so many times parents will be like, oh, just work it out. Oh, just talk to him. It's fine. It's not that
kind of guy. He'll never do this.
No, I'm sure you guys can work it out. Just like go to couples therapy. I'm sure if you guys get some counseling, he'll be okay. He's a nice guy. I mean, he loves you. Which is so annoying to hear.
His mom in Enough, when she had the black eye, his mom was like, what'd you do? Like, what are you talking about? What did I do? Like, your son just blacked my eye. You should be saying, do you need something? Can I help you? Like, and she was just like, what'd you do? What?
It's also sad because Alex's mom is obviously suffering from some kind of mental condition and is also a victim of domestic abuse. And I think that the show shows how like a lot of women who deal with mental disorders, like whether it's like bipolar disorder, personality disorder, like autism, whatever it might be, they're more susceptible to domestic violence because they are not that in control of their life as someone who is like neurotypical. And it sucks because, like, it's so clear. Basil's a terrible person. He does not care about Paula. He does not love Paula. And when they get married, I'm just like, girl, I don't know if you can see the forest for the trees, but something is wrong with this picture, Paula. You gotta leave this man. Like,
run.
Yes, girl. It's so hard to watch because, like, there are even small instances, like when Paula said that she had, like, she could put her painting in a gallery. And, like, Alex is, like, super happy and proud of her mom. And then they go to the gallery, and the man is, like, sitting there, like, I said it should belong in a gallery one day. And then she's standing there trying not to be embarrassed. And then Alex is like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. Like,
but I think also everything that happened with her mom, because I remember one scene, she was like, I'm your mom. You're not supposed to take care of me. Like, Alex was raising 2 kids, if we're being completely honest. It was Maddie and her mom. But also, I think that made her fight for more for Maddie, which is why she started going back to, you know, finish her applications and calling the schools and trying to find more and be more as a woman past being a mom and being a victim and being a caretaker for everybody around her, essentially, because she even started taking care of her clients. Like that one mom who had like the hoarding issue that had to move to another place, she went in there and she did her thing. Like she cleaned up that house so good. It was a judgment zone. It was, how can I help you? Because helping you is helping me, but how can I help you in your time of need? Because you need me and I can assist you. And she took care of everybody, and I'm so glad like she started to take turns into taking care of herself. But that also came from assistance from people like Anika Noni Rose's character.
Yeah. Yes. And I do love Anika's character so much because she is first kind of like the woman who's a little bit distant, you know, maybe a little prickly at times, but Alex is someone who is just so desperately trying to take care of her daughter and herself. She has no ulterior motive. She has no agenda. That is all she is trying to do. And I'm glad that her and Anika's character found like this kinship with each other over the series. And it really warms my heart because it really is Anika who like comes out on the other side helping her. Because even though Seth has his family and his family has money, Seth is not a good, like, he's not a good person. No. He does not have good intentions. And he does not take any accountability. And his actions speak louder than his words do. And Alex, and all that she does is just try to help her daughter and help build a better life for themselves. And that is something that anybody can so clearly see. And her, like, offering to clean the lady's house who is a hoarder and just taking whatever money she can give her and just like doing it freely and not taking Nate's car when he first offers it to her because she knows that he likes him. And like,
I would have took it. I would have been like, hey, I'll call you, don't worry about it, but never call me. I would have took that car. I would have took it and left. But she was very prideful, even though she was in the middle of a lot of stuff. She was very prideful and tried to make sure she didn't repeat certain things with certain people.
It's clear that she wanted to like take care of her family on her own by her own merit. And although she definitely needed that car, there was a stipulation in taking that car. And she knew that. And she understood that. And she couldn't deal with someone else holding something over her, especially if it was a man, when she is just simply trying to make it out here, like, on her own.
And I think she started to take care of people the way she always wanted to be taken care of. Like Anita's character, when she was in the car with her baby, and was it on the Ring doorbell or on the phone? She called her and she was like, I'm in the car. I'm not getting out this car because this baby is finally asleep. Yeah. She was like, go to bed, go take a shower. This baby's fine. And she was like, what? Like, once I pull him out, he's going to cry. She was like, no, it's fine. Watch this. And she let her sleep. And she was like, I feel like a new person. She was like, yeah. And I'm just like, Alex never had that. Alex probably never had anybody to be like, go take a nap. I'll watch the baby. Go do this. I'll watch the baby. And if she did, she didn't trust him in that capacity to watch her child. So I felt like towards, the end, she started to care for people the way she wanted to be cared for and doing things for people that should have been done for her to take the load for other people. So I loved her character because of that, because she could have been selfish. She could have been like, I'm not cleaning your house for less than what I said. I need this money. I get where I need to go. But she saw like women in need that needed help. and she jumped in where she could to do what she could.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think that another thing that works with Alex's character and Regina's character is that Regina is honest. You know, she's not going to like bullshit Alex in any kind of capacity. So when Regina does show like this softer side of herself, Alex knows that that's truly like her character. Like that's truly who she is as a person. And that's why she knows she can trust Regina. And I feel like with Nate, although I did like him and like he's very attractive. Like, he's so sexy.
Yes, he was.
Like, even though like he seems like a really nice guy, like very helpful, and he's like recently divorced, so he's single. But there is that feeling that she has, of course, where it's like he's still a guy. You know, if she accepts his help, if she, you know, accepts anything in return for like any of his kindness, there's always that like feeling of he might want something else, and like I will not be able to reciprocate that. And I'm not gonna lie, it was very hard because when Nate fully like admitted his feelings to Alex, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, girl, what if this is it? What if we can find like rich husband? Come on.
Come on, girl, lock it
in. Make it happen, girl. Make it happen. And of course, her mother starts to stay with them because her mother needs help. And then her mother gets mad at Alex and then goes back to her home and tries to break into that home and then cuts her wrists, get injured, she has to go to the hospital. And that's when Alex has to admit her to the hospital because she can't take care of her mom. She can't be there for her mom.
And she tried to fight that a little bit. She didn't want to admit her. You can see it in her face. And the social worker was like, I mean, can you take care of her 24/7? No. Well, it was it needed to happen. Alex needed those people along the way to kind of just like not sugarcoat anything and kind of just be like, no, your mom needs help. We're putting her in place. If I agree to put her in that place, then let me be the person to take her out, not her boyfriend.
No, absolutely not. Because why is he even here? How did he know she was there? Who told him?
Alex, when she was like, how'd you let her leave? I think they were like, it's not a prison or something they said. It made me mad because I was like, what? I think they said they can't force her to be there or it's not a jail or so. I was like, what? But back to the friend that helps. I think, again, another comparison to Enough, J-Lo had a friend that could help her. I think she even like slept in bed with him at one point. Like they didn't do anything, but they slept together. And I want to say her husband came and ruined that situation where she felt like staying there would jeopardize her friend's life and everything too. But she had a friend that she knew had feelings for her. She stayed at his house until they came and they ransacked it and they threw everything. Oh, that's what it was. She hid in the vent with her daughter and held her mouth. And they threw everything around in his house and everything. Then she was like, I have to go. But as for Alex, she was like, I can't take your car. She needed that car. That girl needed that car so bad just for, was it Nate? Not Nate, Sean, to take the car back to him. He was like, yeah, we're not going to have that car. And she was like, that's how I get around. That's how I have a job. That's how I clean houses. And he was like, yeah, we don't need that.
What?
And then she was just in the house. And then I think, again, back to that whole me having to watch things twice to really comprehend.
I have to ask you. Because I didn't know. When I first watched the show, I was kind of like grappling with this question. Do you think Nate was in the right for kicking her out of the house after he found out that she slept with Sean?
It's iffy. If she wasn't someone that was going through abuse, we would automatically be like, no, like, yeah, of course, kick her out. Like she's leading you on. And then she slept with this person that she said she no longer had contact with or that she hates and all of this stuff. But because she's an abuse victim, you want to be like, let her stay there. Like that's wrong to kick her out. But any other person, a woman would have kicked him out for being like, you slept with this woman that you said you didn't want to be with and you didn't like and that you were over and all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword of him being right in setting boundaries and, you know, kind of he's not going to get what he wants out of her and just cutting it off there. and kind of wrong because she needed that place. And it's like, get over it. Like, you knew she wasn't going to sleep with you anyway, and this wasn't going anywhere. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I'm in between.
I feel like he was wrong.
Because really?
I feel like he was wrong because in my heart of hearts, I wanted to believe that he was letting her stay with him because he knew that she was poor, on her own. She had just lost her home in that very nice neighborhood with that very nice daycare that her daughter was going to. And she needed to live in that neighborhood so her daughter could go to the daycare. And she knew that she lost it because her husband, not her husband, but Sean, is an idiot who completely ruined things for her, you know, because of his drunkenness or whatever. And he let her stay with him. And even though, like, he confessed his feelings and he was honest and he was upfront, in my mind, it's like, okay, either he's doing this because he's let her into the home, so he's telling her, so maybe, like, she feels the same way. I don't know if he's telling her so she feels obligated to sleep with him, or if he's telling her just to be, like, honest and just, like, clear the air and just make things, like, 100% clear. Because even when Paula was, like, making jokes about, like, them getting married and them sleeping together at the dinner table in front of the children, he would laugh. And I'd be like, haha, it's funny, but, like, don't laugh, bro. Because, like, you know that's not going to happen. And then...
longer so that we could get, like, a little snippet into each person's life outside of Alex, just to see, like, a bit of... okay, what happened when Alex left? What type of life were you living before Alex got there? Like, do you really like her or do you like the thought of her? Like, what is it? So we can have a better understanding. I like that they focused on Alex only, but it was sometimes I was just like, ooh, what is this person really like? Like, what? I like that they focused on Alex because it was her story. Yeah. But sometimes I wish we got a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like I would have liked to learn a little bit more about Nate because he does seem like a genuine guy, and I understand, like, he wants to have boundaries, and of course, like, if you want to set your boundaries and you feel like she crossed boundaries by sleeping with her baby daddy that she says she had no contact with, you want to make a clear line in the sand of, like, you know, sorry, I can't help you anymore. Like, if that's your prerogative, that's your prerogative. But when I was watching it, it did feel like you're letting her into the house because she's vulnerable, she needs somebody, she doesn't have anyone else in her life, and although her life is messy and chaotic, you're, like, the one stable person, and you're hoping that she comes to you needing you like the rock, someone to hold her and make her feel steady. And even if she says no today, she may not say no next week or next month because you are going to
be... He wanted to rescue her so bad. Like, he wanted to be that knight in shining armor.
Yes, he did.
So that could be a part of their love story. Like, she had a relationship, I got her out of it. Like, he wanted that part.
He just got out of a divorce, so he wants to, you know, redeem himself in a way. The same way that, like, her dad somehow redeemed himself by marrying that Christian woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because guys cannot be the villain in their own story.
And if they get a woman that is, like, higher than the person that they just got out of a relationship with, even if they were the problem, like, then they're like, oh, I'm golden. How can I be a bad person and I'm with a Christian? Like, how can I be a bad person and I rescued this woman out of a domestic violence situation? I'm not a bad person. I'm great. Like, they seem like the hero in that situation automatically.
Yeah. And obviously we don't know the conversation that, like, Sean had with Nate when he returned the car, but it's clear that, like, it's probably that Nate didn't, like, really give him any pushback on taking that car back.
Yeah, I want to know all of that stuff. Like, I wish have you read the book?
I haven't read the book. No.
I wonder if it's in the book. So that makes me, like, that would entice me to read the book. I'm not going to lie, because I would want to know if those extra details. I do like that it was a limited series. I didn't think it needed to have multiple seasons. I think it was good for what it was. But I would like to know a little bit more.
Yeah. I do have to say, one thing that I found, I don't know if I would say this is unrealistic, but one thing that was, like, a little unrealistic to me was just how Alex treats her daughter, because I know many mothers. I have a mother, you know, and, like, you can have a mom who is kind, who is hardworking, who is patient, but at one point or another, your mama gonna yell, your mom's
She
gonna.
was overwhelmed. She had a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, she never, not once, really like got mad at her daughter, and I was just watching it like, so she's like the perfect mother.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw some interviews that she did, the person that plays Alex, and she said that she would have the little girl that played Maddie, her daughter, with her 24/7. Like they would have pizza parties on the weekend
Yeah.
to build that relationship.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Again, I haven't read the book, so I don't know in the book if, like, she had those moments of yelling and outbursts, because she was going through a lot. Like, she didn't have any money. Like that gas scene where she was in the negatives and she had to ask somebody for $5. Like, I think Maddie's ice cream was $2 or something. Like, you have a reason to yell. Like, I'm not saying yell at a child, but you have a reason that if you had an outburst, it would be okay. And
It would
she
be
never.
validated.
Yeah, and I think maybe they were highlighting that, like, through everything, being a mother was her top priority. Maybe, like, the anger and the frustration around in that trailer wasn't gonna affect Maddie. I think that's what their focus was. Like, there was yelling here, there was like anger here, there was confusion, but when it came to her and Maddie, it was like love and pure. I guess that's what they were trying to highlight. But I do remember sitting there being like, man, like. He said, she ain't yell, she ain't nothing. Like, I would have at least got in the car and yelled one time holding the steering wheel or something. Like, that was just much on one person.
It is a lot. And I feel like you're right. If you're overwhelmed, you may have an outburst, you may slip up, you might get angry. And I think that even though I love the show, I feel like the portrayal of Alex kind of falls into like the perfect victim, where a lot of times when you have these shows where someone is a victim of like any kind of abuse, the person who is the victim has to be without any kind of sins. They cannot have any kind of flaws. If there is something wrong with him, that somehow they are like, the abuse is like a vindication of like their flaws. Like, of course she got her daughter taken away from her because she yelled at her daughter one time, and you can't do that to your daughter. Like, she's a child. But parents yell at their kids because kids are annoying and you get upset and you get mad. Like, not all parents go with the gentle parenting method. Like,
yeah. You yelled at by your boyfriend, now your kid's like, Mom, can I get a cookie? Can I get a cookie? Can I get a cookie? Like, that might be your breaking point. And for the show purposes, that's okay. But also, I wonder what the relationship would have been like if she would have had a son instead of a daughter. And I feel like her having a daughter and having a relationship that she had with her mom, and the lack of her mom was to her, made her overdo her part as a mom to Maddie. But I really wonder how the dynamic would have been if she would have had a son instead. Granted, Sean probably would have been more available to raise his child then, because most men like having a son. But how hard would she have fought to protect her son from everything that was going on around her, like she did her daughter?
I feel like if she had a son, Sean would have fought harder to at least raise him. And then she in turn would have tried to fight harder to get him away from Sean, because she doesn't want Sean she doesn't want her son to end up like Sean,
Yeah, because I think with her having a relationship with her mom and seeing the things that she saw happen to her mom, and hiding from her dad and hiding from the things that were going on in her house, she wanted to show Maddie a lot. And I think them giving her a daughter in this story worked perfectly, because it was the fact that she didn't want same cycles to repeat each other. Like, she didn't want her daughter to see her dad yelling and hitting or whatever it was, her mom, the same way she saw those things and actions happen to her own mom when she was growing up. So I think it was an extra protective layer because she did have a daughter, and it was like, okay, you're mine. Like, if I shield you from the things that's happening to me, like my mom should have shielded me, then maybe you won't grow up in this same environment, and maybe you can grow past this. But I wonder too, again, like I said, if she would have had a son, how hard would her fight have been compared to making sure her daughter didn't, do those things that she did in another lifetime?
Yeah. I feel like you're right, definitely. And this also reminds me of like going back to when Sean dropped the car off at Nate's. Just after that, and like the depression that Alex falls into, it's so hard to watch. But at the same time, like throughout the whole series, she's fighting for her life. She's fighting for her spirit. She's fighting for her daughter. She's fighting for her freedom. She is fighting tooth and nail, like to the bone. And at that point, she really just can't do it anymore, because also Sean lost his job. he has no money. He spends his money on beer rather than on money for food for their daughter.
And he's supposed to be an Alcoholics Anonymous. Like, you're not supposed to be drinking either. And then you're drinking on top of that. And then you're working at a bar, which is way more tempting at that. So it's just like, I honestly thought she was going to fall into depression a little earlier than she did, if I'm being quite honest, because she had so much. But seeing her like get on the couch and she just laid there, like she was like, white flag, I surrender, like you win, I don't have to get up ever again, like you got it. Like, and she just let Maddie play, and she fell right into that couch and she didn't get up for a minute. And even when Anika came over, she didn't get up. Like,
yeah,
that could have
I
been
was
her
surprised.
Time.
Yeah, when Anika came over, I was like, how does she know where she lives?
That's your way out, girl.
Get your bag and run, girl. We gotta go.
I'd be like, we don't need nothing in this house.
No, we don't. I'm headed on the ferry, okay?
Yes, wherever this ferry is taking me, I'm going. But
I'm out of here.
I do feel like, I thought she would fall into depression much earlier in her story because of that, because it was a lot at one time.
Mm-hmm. It was very overwhelming for her to deal with everything she had dealt with. Like, even with Basil taking all her mom's mortgage money and gambling it away, and then her mom yelling at her about it, and then her losing her place at Nate's home, and then being in Sean's trailer again. It's like, girl.
Going back to Sean's trailer would have been enough for me, to be quite honest. Like, to have that strength and that plan to get up out of there and start a new life, and because in everybody's mind now, you're better than them because you think you went off and you did this, and oh, look at you, right back where you started. Like, so that would have been right there too much for me. I would have been like, oh, okay, this is where I'm about to fall. I'm deep into this couch, like, because this is like, I'm really going back. Okay, I have to go back because I can't be my kid out here. Like, it's so much. She really should have like screamed and punched a window or something, but she was very calm. She had no violent actions towards her.
It wasn't until he threw that vase and she finds Maddie hiding in the cupboard. That, for me, like, the parallel was too much for me. I started crying. I was like, I actually can't do this. I actually need a break because it was a lot. And then she's like, I'm getting out of here. She left on foot. And called Regina. She's like, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. I can't be here anymore. I need you to help me. And Regina goes and she gets her. And I'm so glad that, like, she offers, like, she drops her off at the shelter again. And the shelter gives her, like, clothes, a phone. And she left her notebook behind at Regina's home. I think, or in Regina's car. And she read it. And I'm sitting there watching her read. I'm like, oh, girl. Don't get too deep. Don't get too deep.
And she was like, am I the cunt house? And she was like, yeah. She was like, it's
okay. If I lie, will you believe me?
But her dropping her, like, the domestic violence house was new to me because, like, a lot of shows have just showed kind of like shelters. And I'm sure, like, they're all not that nice, of course. But a lot of shows have just showed shelters with, like, bunk beds and moms on top of each other and the dangers that come from being in a shelter. So this one was kind of like an eye-opener of the possibilities that are out there. I know this isn't available for everybody, but just like, her getting a phone and having to go all the way down the street. She could only use it outside of the building. Her, like I said, going shopping inside of the building of old perishables that people have left. And, Maddie seeing other kids down there and the lady helping her with her email and all of those things. So seeing the type of assistance she can get once she was in that place where people understood and there was no judgment and people were really trying to help, like in their heart of hearts, they wanted to help. It wasn't just a job. That was an eye opener for me because, like I said, I only know shelters, like the beat down shelters. You got to be there by a certain time. And people dragging their kids down the street. That's the visual that I have for DV shelters because that's what's shown on TV. This one was much different. And I kind of like it because it might show the possibilities to some people that only have that vision of like those overpacked shelters.
Yeah, I also like that because it shows that there is a clear safety net for domestic violence victims because there could be people watching this show that are possibly looking for an escape, and for them to figure out that there is something out there like that for them, they can try and find it like as close by, maybe a little bit further, but they'll know that like there is something out there for them that will protect them and their family, and then they can go somewhere where they're gonna be okay. Like they don't have to stay with their abuser. Like they can leave and try to figure out something else out. And it's also admirable to see Alex like go so hard to try and get like housing and financial aid so she can go to Missoula and she can, you know, leave and start working on her degree, because that, oh my gosh, I was so happy for her in that moment.
Yeah, I also like the innocence they showed and how she just really simply didn't know stuff. When she was on one call, she was like, I'm trying to do the FAFSA. And I was like, girl.
Girl. Wow.
I was like, you're new here. Like, it really showed that she didn't know anything about the college process. Like, she wasn't a dummy at all, by far. Like, she had a set skill set, and she could write, and she can clearly put her thoughts down on pen and paper. She just never had, and she obviously never had family and friends that were going off to college either, because like she didn't have anybody to even teach her those things. So when she's calling, everything's new to her. Like she's doing all of this stuff for herself for the very first time. And I like the process of them showing how like she really didn't know anything and she had to teach herself everything.
That's very true. She did have to teach herself a lot, which isn't easy, because when it comes to college, a lot of kids learn that in high school. So for her to not know about it has to like call into question like what was going on with her when she was like very young. You know,
she probably taking care of her mom.
Yeah,
that probably hindered her from her getting a good education too, making sure whatever's going on at home and taking care of an adult probably stopped her a lot too.
That is probably true. But
again, that's why we need to know more stuff.
Need to know more what's going on.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm actually very happy like near the end of the show, because I feel like the show has put us through the ringer. The show has given us like all the nitty gritty of what's going on in her life, and they're like, we're near the end. We have to make it a little bit lighter. Like maybe just like a little bit happier. So, you know, she's about to apply to Missoula, but of course she has like the custody thing with Sean. So Regina puts her into contact with a family lawyer so that she can leave the state so that she can go to college. And basically she tries to like put into a motion to court, and she presents it to Sean, who of course is not happy about it. And he tries to reject it, citing lack of evidence of abuse. So basically the lawyer is like, listen, Alex, we can, you know, go through this. We're going to go through the court case. But in the end, if the judge rules in Sean's favor, you cannot leave the state to go to college. I was sitting here like, we can't do this. We can't do this anymore. We are fighting for our last breath. And y'all are standing on our necks. You have to let us breathe.
It lets you know how difficult the law is in protecting everybody involved in that situation, especially Alex and Batty. Like, what do you mean I can't leave this state and go get an education so I can work and provide for my child when this man is abusing me here? Like, so you want me to stay here with no job, no good education for my child, just so her abusive father can be around? Like, what are y'all saying to me right now?
Honestly, and it's even worse when she finds out that her mom is working at a flea market with another man. And she's homeless now.
Her mom has so much living in her car. She's like, I'm fine. And she was like, everything was like, I'm fine. You don't worry about me. I'm fine.
You don't look fine, girl. You don't look fine. You look like you're in trouble.
She's like, what are you talking about? I'm good.
No, ma'am. You're not good. That's not what good looks like. This looks bad. Like
Alex needed assistance to understand that, yes, you know, do right by your parent, but like, girl, you gotta live your life. Like this lady,
don't do right by your parent to the point where you become the parent.
Yes, like I understand if your parent has a mental problem 100%, but like you can with what you can, get them resources together. If there's other family, which they didn't have, but lock in what you can, because girl, you gotta live your life, because you gotta be good for your own child. Like you be half baked because you've taken care of somebody that should have taken care of you so much. And her mom's not even old. Like, that was the crazier part. Like, her mom was, I don't think they said her mom's age, but I'm gonna go with she was in her 40s to 50s. Like, she looked very young and very, like, she had good movement and everything. So, like, Alex taking care of her mom when she had a child to take care of was so insane. But that's like a lot of people's reality, that like they have to take care of their parent. Like, that's an added person that they have to tend to.
Yep. Very true indeed. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little hesitant when she asked Paula to like supervise Sean's court approved for our visitation session with Maddie, but she had no other choice because she had to ask Hank if he would testify, saying that he witnessed Sean emotionally abuse her, and Hank said he wouldn't because he empathized with Sean's struggles with alcoholism. And it's like, please be useful. Like, you want your daughter in your life, you want to talk to Maddie, you want to be a part of her life. You have to stand up on your own 2 feet. And just like, you have to do something. You have to say with your full chest, I saw him mistreat my daughter. I saw him mistreat my daughter. And it doesn't mean he's a bad person. I know he struggles with alcoholism. Nonetheless, my daughter wants to go and make a better life for herself with her younger daughter. She should be able to do that without the threat of her baby daddy holding her back. That's all you had to do. And you couldn't do that.
You could even lie. You could have been like, I've been a great man my whole life, and I know that's not a great man. Like, you could have lied. Nobody knows what you didn't dig. You did some horrible stuff. Nobody knows, but you could have just went in there and started from scratch and advocated for your child, and that's what you didn't do. And nobody other than Anika and maybe the DV house people advocated for Alex at all in this whole thing. Not her friends. Her mom couldn't because her mom wasn't all the way there. Her dad, not Sean, nobody advocated for this girl. Like, nobody had her back except that one lady at the domestic violence center that checked her in, and Anika. The people at her job didn't even like her, and I mean, she did go behind their back at one point. And
she needed to. She needed the money.
She did what she had to do.
Yes.
And it's like, you guys are being horrible to her. So what do you expect her to do? Like, people have to eat out here. And she said that she needed to eat. She said she needed to tend to her child. So the fight that a mother will go through to make sure her child has stuff, like, y'all can't knock her for that. But then they fired her.
Right. I mean, y'all weren't giving her extra shifts. So she had to make something happen.
And that girl did. She took a piece of paper and a marker and wrote and taped stuff around the city. She was like, I'll clean up. Like, call me. And then Sean took her phone, or she ran out of minutes or something. So people weren't able to get in contact with her. So she was going to the libraries and checking her email. Like, she was really getting down to work. And so, like, that was one thing nobody could take from her. She was a hard worker. She was focused. She was dedicated to getting out of that situation the best she could, but also making sure Maddie had whatever she needed.
Yeah, that's true. Man. And even, I feel like when she went to the group to talk to the other survivors of domestic violence, and she was just telling them her story, it was just so nice to hear her talk to other people who could relate to what she's talking about, other people who had also been there, other people who could like empathize with her and feel for her. And that's when I really was just like, see, now she's being seen. Now she is around people who could truly see like all the effort she has put in. Like, she is putting in all this effort. The only person who sees how hard she's working for Maddie is Maddie. That's it. But when she sits there around all this,
probably like, that's my mom. That's what moms are supposed to do. She doesn't even have the depths that her mom is going through.
She's like, that's my mama, of course.
My mama's gonna make it work. $5 for ice cream, my mama pay for it. Don't even work.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I was so happy when Sean was just like, you can go. You know? Because what else could he say? What else could he do? What does he have to stand on? What argument does he have to bring to the table? There's nothing. There's nothing. You need to clean yourself up.
This girl didn't even want this little girl. Like, and I want to know a little bit more, because like further down the line, like, I got questions like, do you still go back to the town and take Maddie to visit her dad? Like, what goes on after? But I guess we would have to read the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to read the book.
It's actually very sad when Alex asked Paula to move to Montana with her, because me, fully in my head, I'm like, don't ask her to come with you. Leave her.
I would have been like, girl, here's my number. You know, I'll call you to come out in about 5 months. Yeah. You know, me and Maddie will invite you out for Christmas. So exciting. Like, no, new life, new mindset, new everything. I can't be around the same people in a new state. Like, you can't flourish that way.
Sometimes you have to leave everything behind when you're starting new.
Yeah.
Like, start completely fresh.
And also with that being Alex's real mom, I like, when I went through to do my research, I was like, okay, so like, how did this affect your relationship? Because I know some people, like, when they really get into like their acting and their mindset and everything. But she said, like, I was good. Me and my mom, like, she was like, my mom has always taught me like acting stays at work, and you know, you the next day. She was like, so we were cool. We would laugh after, and it was just great. And I was like, that's good that that's a totally different relationship than you have with your actual mother, because that would be some hell on earth on set if this is like an actual relationship and how you guys really communicate or see each other. Like, it's good that you have a totally different relationship than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Andie MacDowell, she has been acting for such a long time. So for her to be acting like alongside her mom and be able to like really just match her mom in quality is something that I truly admire, because of all the TV shows and movies I watch, you can always notice when there is a seasoned actor and there is a newer actor, and who does not fare well in the scene, or who does not really like rise to the occasion. Like, one example that I like to use sometimes is Tick Tick Boom, because Andrew Garfield and Alexandra Shipp are two actors who like are dating in the movie, but in the scene that I think about a lot, Alexandra Shipp is like talking about the relationship and how hard it is on her, and they're like at this breaking point, and she's like tries to sound like she's crying, and Andrew Garfield, who isn't talking, who doesn't say anything, is just standing there, and he is emoting. He is acting. He's not saying anything. It is his body language. It is his face. It is his emotions. It is how he's making the audience feel. And Alexander Shipp is trying to make the audience feel some type of way. You know, so there's a very clear distinction between two actors and their talents. And it's so interesting to see Margaret Qualley, who is like Andie MacDowell's daughter, be able to match her mom and like keep up with her in the scene, you know.
And I didn't know they were mother-daughter, and I really appreciated that. When I first watched it, I watched it solely off of social media being like, you need to watch this. This is so good. It was one of those Facebook things, you know, where people are like, nobody's talking about this. And so I went and watched it. And I was like, oh, this is really good. Then I think I saw something somewhere say that that was a mother-daughter duo. And I was like, who was a mother-daughter duo? And then I saw, and I was like, wow, like, she really held her own against her mom, who is so good and so well versed in acting, and it's been doing it for such a long time. She's really good. And also, I appreciate not knowing that that was your mom, because like I ended up finding out that she the person that plays Alex got the role before her mom. She actually suggested her mom to play that role, but you know, automatically you would think like, oh, her mom got her that role. Like, so I appreciated not knowing anything. Like, I went in there blind. I didn't know they were related. Like, it made the show so much better for me compared to going in there with the expectation of, okay, you're an actress's daughter. Like, you better act your ass off and give me stuff. Like, I went in there blind, and I was like, damn, like, you're really good. Like, okay. And it gave me an extra, like, I gave her extra flowers once I knew that her mom was her mom. And I was like, okay, like, you're holding your own, even against your mom. Like, you're not even in there, like, let me not outdo my mom in this scene. Like, I'm at work and I'm doing my thing, and you did your thing. And I appreciated that, because it gave more to the character. Finding out their mother-daughter kind of gave a little bit more to me later on, just seeing like how they acted with each other and the circumstances they were through as characters. But I am glad, like I said, I did not know that was her mom. I'm happy. Like, I sometimes am happy when I find out somebody's a Nepo baby. I'm like, okay, like, good for you. But thank you for blowing me away before I knew that information.
Right. Sometimes I just want the talent to speak for itself first. That's all you want, you know.
Tell me the information later. Like, if they got it this easy, tell me that later. Like, let me see what their art does first. And then I'll be like, oh, they got that because of who their parents are, or their dad being a producer or something. If I can watch it and be like, you're talented, and later on somebody's like, oh, his mom is the director, I don't care, because they did great without me knowing that information.
It's only when they do a bad job, you're like, who gave you this job? Who'd you have to call to get here? You don't belong on the roster.
No, I don't like this. Redo this.
Yeah, exactly. Recast this right now. Yeah, that's how I felt about like Dear Evan Hansen, the movie, at least, not the musical, but the movie musical. It was kind of like, you only got this role because you were the original Dear Evan Hansen, and then your dad is literally a director. So like, we need to get somebody else in here.
Kind of like when my mom, I watched Girlfriends as a kid when I probably shouldn't have been, and she was telling me that Tracy Ellis Ross was Diana's daughter, and I was like, I don't care, that's Joan. Like, what are you telling me? I knew who Diana Ross was. Yes. I didn't have an understanding of who Diana Ross was. I was a child and I shouldn't have been watching Girlfriends. Of course, Tracy Ellis Ross is her own entity now. Like, yes, she is. That know and respect her mom being her mom. It's known and respected. But like, some people are kind of just like, Tracy Ellis Ross is famous because she's Tracy Ellis Ross. Like, a lot of people don't think too much into her being the Diana Ross's daughter. And I like that for her. Evan Ross too, he's very creative and artsy as well. But Tracy Ellis Ross is probably like the biggest person that I can think of. Like, I don't think your mom when I think of you. I think of you as an individual, and I think of your talents and what you've been in compared to simply you being somebody's child.
Yeah, that's another thing. I do love Tracy Ellis Ross because she is incredibly talented and so funny and so dynamic, incredibly charismatic as a person. And I didn't even know that she was Diana Ross's daughter until I watched Blackish and I saw her in interviews. Yeah, I didn't know.
That's good though.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, girl.
Like, oh, okay, like, dang, you're really doing a thing. Like, you're really excelling. Like, and for me, it was just like, my mom was like, even with Paris Hilton, I remember her telling me like Paris Hilton's family. And I was like, okay, like, not that Paris Hilton is doing anything like, super crazy talented, like acting. I was like, okay, like, this is Paris Hilton. Like, who are her parents? Like, what are you saying? Like, I kind of like when you're an individual and like me finding out about your family lineage later on, it's like, oh, damn, like, you come from a long line of like athletes. You come from a long line of actors. Like, I'd rather see you and your talents first. Like, let your art speak for itself first.
Yes, exactly. That's what we want to see. And I feel like Maid was like the perfect introduction to Margaret Qualley, because before Maid, she didn't really have any like standout roles. And I think now that she has this in her filmography, she has been like, getting a lot more like solid roles. Like, I know that she's a film coming out at the end of February called Drive-Away Dolls with Pedro Pascal, Beanie Feinstein. It's supposed to be like, I think it's a Coen Brothers film. So it's supposed to be like very, kind of artsy, indie, but also like humorous in a way.
Yeah, she gives me artsy or independent film type of actor. Like, she doesn't give, and not in a bad way, she doesn't give big film. She gives very like, I study for like a small independent role that maybe a lot of people won't see, but it will be the talk of the town amongst those that do see it. So I like that in her, and I hope she keeps it up, because I really did appreciate her in Maid and the time that clearly she put into that character.
Yeah, Maid is a amazing grounded performance from her, and I honestly like try to recommend it to as many people as I can, especially if I know that they like those kind of shows, because Maid is not a show that you can watch casually.
No. I recently explained it to a friend. I was like, have you watched Maid? And they were like, and they're really into movies and TV, and they were like, what is that? Like, I haven't heard of it. And so I kind of explained everything, and they were like, okay, can I watch any interviews? And I was like, like, there's not a lot to break down what the show is about. I'm sorry. Like, here's my synopsis. There's this, and it focuses on this. And they're like, okay. I was like, it's not that many episodes, it's very quick, but it's not quick. Like, it's very like, it's a story, and it doesn't drag out. Like, if you have problems like me, like sitting during something the entire time, 8 episodes worth, and you want to or get on your phone, it's something that you can easily if you get on your phone, you can still stay focused on what's going on. If you don't get on your phone, you can still stay focused the entire time on what's going on and not lose interest. So that was something that I appreciated from the whole thing.
Right. I'm someone, when I start watching something, I kind of get zeroed into it. Like, I can't do anything else. Like, I can't let myself get distracted. So I have to, like, watch it, like, fully all the way through. And with Maid, I feel like that was a perfect show for me because from episode 1, it just drew me in. Like, so much happened in episode 1, and it just never stopped. Like, the hits never stopped coming for our girl. And I was like, I will never find another show that is this intense, this impactful, this, like, honest and realistic, and this well written. Like, the tone in this show is, like, perfect. I was like, I would never find another show like this. And it's such a shame because this is so good.
Like, and they did all that without exhibiting, like, physical harm. Like, he didn't have to put his hands on her, and it didn't have to get brutal on camera. It didn't have to get bloody. Like, you know, it wasn't that. It was still storytelling of an abused woman without, you know, showcasing that part of it. And I like that part too, because they really focused in on the writing and the storytelling, actors and their facial expressions and everything like that, instead of showcasing the brutality of domestic abuse. So I do like the way that they told that story as well.
Because honestly, when you're in that kind of situation, you want to be able to leave before it gets to that point. That's what you want to do. And that's like the hopeful thing that people want to do. A lot of times women, they stay because they hope that things will get better and they hope things will change. And Alex recognized that there is a certain breaking point in their relationship where she will no longer be safe and neither will her daughter. And when she understood that, that's when she took the action to leave. And yeah, that's something I really admire in the show. And I'm so glad that she got her happy ending in the end. And she went to Missoula. And like, in my heart of hearts, I kind of wish there was like an epilogue. But at the same time, I'm like, no, she's good now. We don't need it.
Like, you know how Euphoria pops out maybe like 2 episodes only about Zendaya every like 5 years because they don't show for real. They give us what they should. But you know how Zendaya has like 2 Euphoria episodes here and there? I kind of wish sometimes that shows like that would give like 1 or 2 every like 3 years or something, kind of just to update the viewers that care about the storyline to see, you know, where this person might be. Because I do want to see, like, is she married? Is she having more kids? Did she find the right person? How's her mom doing? Does she go back home? Does Maddie have contact with her dad? Like, I want to see that range. But I know we're not going to get it unless we read the book and it's in there. I'm kind of tempted to read the book now because I have so many unanswered questions.
Yeah. But overall, it's such a great show. Do you have any last thoughts about Maid that you'd like to share?
I think it was like a little one-off that we said, like, just the interviews were not what I wanted. Like, when I was researching for this, it's like they didn't talk about what the show was actually about. They didn't really ask them, you know, hard-hitting questions on the TV shows. I saw like some Zoom, you know, interviews because it was during COVID time, but like when it was on Ellen or Jimmy Kimmel or something, they didn't ask the right questions. And I was like, oh my, ask about the show, ask about domestic violence, ask about, and it was like they were asking about their family life. Then they were like, commercial break, came back and they were like, make sure you watch The Maid on Netflix. And I was like, you told me nothing about the show. Like, so I hope for the future that shows that highlight things like that people that give interviews, they take the time to really focus in on the topics of the show and they don't get scared of the topic and speak on it and speak about it and show that, you know, they actually watch the show and they have an understanding of the show and the characters. So that's my only takeaway. Like, that show was so good. I don't have anything else to say about it. I wish it didn't come out during COVID so that it could have got the appreciation that it deserved. But I think coming out during COVID made it a classic amongst many, like, that probably don't talk about it. Because they don't know who's actually watched the show compared to things like Squid Games or, you know, Tiger King or something like that. There are a lot of people, I think, that have watched The Maid, but they probably just don't know who they can talk about it with.
That's another reason why, like, I even have this podcast, because there are so many TV shows and movies that you watch on the regular, but not all of them will get like the same reviews or the same treatment. You know, like they're the popular and the big shows that come out on Netflix and Hulu that you will see in like Screen Grant, or you'll see like Comic Books or whatever channel is New Rock Stars, you know, do like a review on it or do a breakdown of it. And then whenever it's a show like Maid or like Black Cake or like something like that, where it seems very popular and it seems like a lot of people have watched it, but when you look on YouTube for any kind of like reviews or analysis, there are only like a couple people with like a couple views on the videos and nothing really in depth and nothing really like high quality content like going into it and breaking it down. So that's one reason why I love doing this podcast, because I want to give space to like these shows, to give them like a thoughtful analysis and talk about them with other people who love these shows. And also because you're right, a lot of like late night shows, they throw softball questions to a lot of actors and actresses about their work. And it could be because they haven't seen it actually, or because they don't want to get too deeply into it, or it's because they're looking for that viral clip. You know, they're looking for like that little like soundbite that they could put on all of their social media platforms to try and get it trending and try and get people to possibly watch the show on YouTube, but they probably won't. And there's nothing really like in depth, and there's no real care going into these interviews and like asking people these questions that really like make them think. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because I think your platform is the first like place I've really, especially me, like, but in general, have seen anyone talk in depth about this show. Like I said, when I went on YouTube, it was really just those Zoom clips of the actresses sitting with someone who may have like, you know, a couple 100,000 followers. They're of course not, you know, Jimmy Kimmel or Ellen or anybody like that. And some challenging questions for the actresses and actors of the show, but you know, then they get on those mainstream shows where it really counts to some people to do those interviews, and they're not getting hard-hitting questions, they're not getting anything challenging, and that doesn't do anything for the show, and it does a disservice for the show and those that are on the show when you can't, you know, get somebody to ask the proper questions. Because I do watch Jimmy Kimmel, I will watch Good Morning America. That's usually how I find out about shows and movies, because who does commercials anymore for real when you have that I can pay for no ads? So how would I know about what new show or movie's coming out unless you do a proper interview, or thankful for the Maid, social media hypes you up based on you being a good show. So I do appreciate platforms like you that do in-depth analysis of shows like this, because if not, where will we talk about it at?
Yeah. And I feel like that's really important, because this is a very amazing show, and it's something that I highly recommend you guys watch and check it out. You know, feel free to suggest it to all your friends and family about Maid. It's on Netflix, it's still streaming. And we're just going to move it to the recommendations, which is the last part of this podcast, where we just give our recommendations for other movies and other TV shows that we've watched that we like to recommend to you guys, or anything that we've seen that we think that you may enjoy, you know. Do you have any recommendations? Because I think I've written mine down. Let's see.
Loving WWE for my reality show, people, is a reality show I'm highlighting for Black History Month with WWE superstars Bianca Belair and Montez Ford. They're a married couple. Bianca Belair is champion. She's amazing always. She does her own hair, makeup, makes her own clothes. Her husband is an amazing athlete. It's about 8 episodes. It's on Hulu. No, it's 9 episodes. They uploaded all of them at one time at the top of February. And I did see a lot of buzz and chatter that they could only get a season 2 if people actually watch it. But to me, this is another example. They didn't do really good publicity for the show, at least not Hulu. Like it wasn't how I thought it would be, especially because I've seen other wrestling reality TV shows and the buzz that they've gotten. It's a great show. It's a great show. You don't have to be a wrestling fan to watch it. You don't have to follow sports entertainment. It is appropriate for kids to watch. So if, you know, your daughters or sons like wrestling, this is an appropriate show. They're not doing anything on there. An American Fiction with Issa Rae. I think she did the screenplay, if I'm not mistaken. I know she did something, or she produced the movie. But I think it's nominated for like 4 or 5 Oscars. Sterling K. Brown is in it. Issa Rae is in it. Maxine Shaw, attorney at law, is in it. It's really, really good. I'm only 30, 40 minutes in, and I would say a little dry humor. For those that, comedy isn't like always, just right there, a joke right in your face. For those that like a little bit of dry humor, I think this is the one. And I think
you said you're 30 minutes into the movie?
I'm like 30, yeah. I dozed off last night.
Wait a minute. Did you like get it on like Apple TV or something?
I actually don't know how I'm watching it. I watched it at a friend's house yesterday because I've been wanting to watch it for a really long time. So I actually don't know how we watched it. I figured it was on streaming because we were going to watch Color Purple, which is another thing I would recommend. But I'm a music person. I know Color Purple wasn't for everybody, the new adaptation. But I'm a musical person. So for me, I was very excited for the Color Purple musical adaptation. But back to American Fiction, I think it's an amazing movie. I can't wait for Oscar season. I really do hope Sterling K. Brown gets it. I do have to research I try to go back and look at all the categories and movies that may be nominated for Oscars. So when I'm sitting there, I can't be mad at which one actually wins compared to like a favorite. So I try to make sure I'm well versed in all of the categories and those that are nominated. But as of now, American Fiction, Sterling K. Brown is really funny in it. But he also plays a very serious role in some sorts, but he's hilarious from the few minutes that I've seen. And Tracee Ellis Ross, I'm not going to spoil the movie, but the Tracee Ellis Ross is also very funny in this movie. And she's Sterling K. Brown's sister, as well as the other main character's sister. So there's a lot that goes on in that first 30 minutes where you're going to be like, okay, I get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a really good movie. It's nominated for Best Picture. Jeffrey Wright is nominated for Best Actor. Sterling K. Brown is nominated for Best Supporting Actor. And I think that it's also nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay for Cord Jefferson.
Yes, that's what it is. But yeah, and that was one of those things too. I found out from Good Morning America. And I heard Sterling K. Brown's voice, and I was like, oh, I'm locked in because I like him. And then I saw But again, like that's why doing interviews for like daytime TV or night shows is important, and asking the right questions. Robin asked the right questions. I got a sense of what the movie was about because Sterling K. Brown was able to describe his character and the plot of the movie and everything like that. So please ask the right questions when you guys bring people on shows.
Please. Or you know what? Call us and have us interview these people.
Call people that care about movies and TV shows and have an understanding of pop culture references or have an understanding of, film history or something. But not asking I want to know about their personal life. Yeah. But I want to know about what I'm about to go pay to go because again, there's commercials. Like there's no commercials out here. So you have to do the job of what the commercial would have done for me.
Right. And also like they only have like 6 or 10 minutes to ask the people questions on the shows. So
the open monologue is like 45 minutes.
American Fiction is a really great show. I actually watched it a while back in December and I do love it. It's really good. So I think you'll enjoy it. I think you'll really like it. I think you'll have a lot to say about the show, to be honest.
After what happens to Tracee Ellis Ross happens, I got to the beach scene and then I got to figure it out why Sterling K. Brown isn't with his family.
Yeah.
I started to see that part. I saw when he wrote the first part of what he's writing. So I have to just like dive right back in. But it's not a hard thing to follow. It's not boring at all. It's actually very interesting at how they do things. And like I said, it's just funny. Like I laughed a couple times, like especially when K. Brown said why he doesn't have his family. I was like, what? Like, why don't you have your family? But okay. And then but I think those two are my big ones. I'm always gonna rave for Black Cake. That was a one that a lot of my followers have discovered me by. Black Cake was really, really good. And I don't know, it got its praises that it deserved. But I really appreciated it, how it was written. And a lot of people are saying season 2 in my comments. I don't know. I thought it was a limited series. But
sometimes that's what I thought.
Sometimes I'm wrong. Like sometimes people are like, no, you didn't know it's a season 2 coming. I'm like, that seemed like a limited series. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but it is a book. So I don't know if there's more past that. But to me, it seemed like a limited series that that was it.
Yeah, there has been talk, I think from exactly the producer, the showrunner, and also the author, that if OWN Network wants to explore season 2, they're open to it, but there
Okay.
hasn't been a season 2 announced. And because of all the unanswered questions from the show, season 2 seems most likely because there are still some things we need to know.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I was like, it kind of like with Maid, where we have a lot of questions and a lot of stuff is open ended. But then I was also like, okay, this isn't supposed to go past one season. Like, this doesn't seem like there's more to it. But also, I could be wrong. Like, also, there could be other avenues that we can explore.
Yeah. Especially. I did love Black Cake. I do want to recommend for the listeners. I've been spending a lot of time watching Apple TV because I pay.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I pay for Apple TV.
I think
I gotta watch it.
I want to say I'm using somebody's account, but I watch Apple TV for sure. They have some good shows. It's just secret, like good shows, because they don't really publicize them the way like Hulu and Netflix does.
Yeah, it's strange because I feel like Apple has a lot of money, so I think I need to put something in the marketing budget because I'm only seeing ads for Silo, Hijack, and for All Mankind, and also for Ted Lasso. But Ted Lasso was kind of like a hit on its own because there are those people that love like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Parks and Rec. So Ted Lasso falls very like well into that kind of category of like sitcom. So Ted Lasso really like grew an audience of its own from its success. So they didn't really need to put that much press out there for the show. And for me on Apple TV, when I'm watching, I think I've talked about this in a previous episode, but I just want to bring it up again. There's a show called Criminal Record that I started watching that's really good. And it's about this woman. She is a police officer, and one day a 911 dispatcher basically conferences her into a call because there's a woman calling and she's like very upset. She's trying to leave her abusive boyfriend, and she's kind of just like rambling, so like the 911 dispatcher doesn't know what she's saying or like is trying to figure out what's going on. So she conferences in the policewoman, and the woman that calls 911, she says that her boyfriend has hit her. Yeah, he's done this before. He stabbed a woman and killed a woman, but another man went to jail for it. He got away with it. And then the police officer's like, that sounds like something I need to look into. So she starts to look into the case, and she soon finds out that that case is something that was closed by a man named DC Haggerty, who was like a lieutenant in, I guess, the British police. And he's old school. Like, he's been in the police for a long time. He knows everybody in there. All his old friends used to run the police. And she is a light-skinned black woman. So she's trying to figure out why this man, Errol Mattis, who is this black man, why did he go to jail for stabbing his girlfriend when he may not have done it? And DC Haggerty, huh?
How many seasons is it?
It's a very new show, so this isn't its first season.
Okay.
Yeah, so when the show was first released, the first 3 episodes were released on Apple TV, and they've been doing weekly releases every Wednesday. So next week is the season finale.
Okay. Let's check that out. I will say also on Apple TV, I'm a big morning show person. I think the morning show never gets publicity, to be quite honest.
That's crazy. I feel like I saw it a lot in season 1. If I'm being honest.
I think I saw it on season 1 because they went to Good Morning America. Because if I'm not mistaken, Jennifer Aniston shadowed the anchors at Good Morning America. I could be mistaken, but I think so. And that's how she studied what it's like to be at a morning show setting. So that was me learning about it. And after that, I didn't see them put anything out. And I don't know why, but maybe it's because the people that are on the show, they figure, that's a draw in itself. But there's 3 seasons. Season 1, if those are familiar with like the Today Show and everything that happened with Matt Lauer there, it's kind of like a play on that and sexual assault in the workplace, and how like men of power can assert themselves over women who are maybe like an intern. And, it really, not even how I watch shows, but I would say watch it twice so that you can see it from different levels. Because you might see it from his level and be like, okay, like he didn't do anything wrong. But then you see it from the younger woman's level and you're like, no, she's in a weird situation. That's a man of power. She thought she had to go to his room. So it's a play on the mind, and you're able to view it from different perspectives. And then season 2 is about COVID, of course. And then everything that happens with COVID. And season 3 is about the network being purchased by someone I believe is supposed to be like Elon Musk, and how he's trying to basically like just take the network so that they report the facts that he wants them to report, and them trying to get on top of that and making sure that them as a media outlet can remain, you know, honest and true to the viewers, and making sure that they don't get sold and scraped away to nothing. So it's really good. I think Jennifer Aniston, I'm not one of those people that's like, she's such an amazing actress, but I think in this, she does a good job at being serious. And I'm annoyed to the depths of me by Reese Witherspoon's character on this. I think it annoy me as a character, like, you're doing a good job, clearly you're playing your part, but like, she's so damn annoying. I cannot with Alex. But I think it's a really good show. It's about 10, 11 episodes, 45 minutes each, 3 seasons. And like I said, Jennifer Aniston, Reese Witherspoon, and it's really about morning show TV and the behind the scenes and all the crazy things that go on back there. They highlight the shooting in Vegas at that concert, and how news reporters can be sleeping in their bed and then something happens and now they're on a jet and they have to go out there. You can't cry, you can't be sad, you need to report that news and report it accurately, and all the behind the scenes that go on, you know, with people like that. So I think it's really good if you care about behind the scenes stuff, TV shows and how they're produced and how they're made and stuff, but also like if you just care about a season worth of stories. So sexual assault, then COVID, then somebody trying to buy the network. It's not the same every year, and I like that.
You did tell me about the show when we were first talking about doing the podcast, and the way you explained it just reminded me of what you said, which also reminded me that I need to watch the show, because I initially wasn't going to watch it because I feel like when I saw like Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon, both actresses that I love, more Reese Witherspoon because I'm like so, I don't know, I feel like it's Legally Blonde, but I'm so emotionally attached to her work. Like everything she's in, I have to watch it, like no matter what. But for this show, I was kind of like, I don't know if it's for me. I don't know if I'm like the audience for it. And then a clip from season 3 with Nicole Bahari completely just reading that woman. It went viral on TikTok.
Into her.
Listen,
she tore into her, and I
she
will
let her
say
know what it was.
Yes, for all the people that like have work job inequities and all those problems that women are getting paid less than men, and you know, people that do more are getting paid less than the people that just come to work and sit down all day. Like, they do a leak, like someone like leaks all of the payout, and that's what that conversation is about. Like, you brought me on here because I'm Black. Like, why am I not getting paid what I'm supposed to get paid? And she dug into her the way it was needed, and it was so good. It was so good.
That's who we need on the real. Okay, yes. Her. Yes.
And I will, again, that's her first season. So again, for those people that are like, I only want to see her, you can start from season 3 because that's her very first season. So that's your first introduction to her. Everything that kind of happens in the other seasons doesn't really like go into the next season, except for like, you know, a little bit of a character dies here and there or something like that. But other than that, like, a new season is a new season. So you can follow that season based on what the storyline is for that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to actually jump into it this weekend. I'll see if I can watch it because my sister just moved into a new apartment, so I'm going to hang out with her tomorrow to see her new place, and I'll see if she wants to watch it.
I will say episode 1, I always tell people episode 1 to shows, like, I'm always like, no, don't judge it by episode 1. Wait for episode. Right. I'm an episode 2 or 3 person because episode 1 is not always like, you're not going to get what you want out of that. It might be boring. It might be like, you don't know what you're going to get out of an episode 1 for a show.
Mm-hmm. I feel that, honestly, because whenever I start watching, especially like a K-drama, it takes a while for the action to really ramp up in those shows. And they like to introduce like a bunch of characters all at once. And you don't really understand how all these characters are connected until you really get into the season. So I know what you mean when you say like, don't wait on episode 1. Like, if episode 1 is to draw you in, just keep Watch it. Keep going. It's a story. They're telling a
Go for 3.
story.
Once you get to 3, then you could be like, I don't know about this show. Yeah. But like, I think I liked episode 1, but it's like an episode 2 type of feel that'll really bring you in.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Sounds good. I'll be sure to check that out. There is one movie I do want to recommend, because a lot of people have been watching Mr. and Mrs. Right, which is another show that I have to watch. But now that Mr. and Mrs. Right has kind of become like really popular, a lot of people are discovering other works that Maya Eskren has done. I think that's just her last name. Okay. And one movie that I love is Plus One. It stars her and Jack Quaid, and it's this like rom-com about these 2 single people who are best friends in college, and throughout the summer, all of their friends are getting married. Like almost everyone they know who is their same age is getting married. So
Netflix? Is it on Netflix?
They just put it on Netflix.
Okay, I know I saw it on my homepage, so yes.
Yeah. So now Maya's character and Jack's character are going to these weddings together, and they're trying to help each other like hook up with singles at the wedding. It's a very funny movie. Like, it's very endearing. It's very humorous. And honestly, like, a lot of times when I watch like those kind of rom-coms or those kind of comedy movies, I'm kind of just like, I'm just gonna watch this for fun. I'm okay if it's a little bad. This is actually a very, very good movie. And if you're just looking for something to watch that's just like fun, it's funny, it's heartfelt, it's actually like a pretty realistic depiction of like what it's like to date and like relationships and marriage and that kind of stuff and how life is. And I love that movie so much, because sometimes you want to watch a movie that will make you feel a little bit something, but not too much, you know?
Yeah.
You want something that's nice and enjoyable.
I think the last one for me would be The Crown, and I think I told you this already too. It is for some very boring, I'm not gonna lie. But if you get into it, like episode 2, the king dies, and it just shows you, of course, everything's a little drawn out, of course, but it shows you what happens in real time. Like, the queen was over there thinking she's still a princess on a trip with her husband. Her dad's dead. There's no cell phones. She doesn't know. The media is rushing to go take pictures of her, be sad, and she can't physically show tears. She's not supposed to show emotion. So she has to lock in. Like, she's in her queen mode automatically. As soon as they say your dad's died, she can't cry about it. She can't mourn his loss. She got to go run a kingdom. So she needs to go get dressed and go where she needs to be. So that whole ordeal, the last season is about Diana, and then they split it up, and then the second half is about William. But like, I didn't care that it was about William. I'm not gonna lie. Who cares about William?
Exactly,
like, show
right.
They really did a good job of trying not to show Harry. Like, they would show Harry for 2 seconds and then he'll run off and do something. It was really about William and Kate. And then the queen died in real life, so they had to change things up and showcase the death of the queen. So that overshadowed William and Kate, which, like, real life, it overshadowed William and Kate. But like, they want you to fall in love with the story of William and Kate. And like, for the life of me, I don't care.
I mean, who does, really?
I don't. Show me Harry. Like, show me what they have going on. Mm-hmm. But also, like, the king cheated on, or Prince Philip cheated on the queen, like, for a whole tour on a boat one time. And I swore people were like, they're soulmates. They were perfect. He loved her. And I was like, oh, they must, like, you know, this is great. Cool. Like, and I watched it. I was like, oh, so he cheated on her the entire time. And y'all had me thinking like this was some great love story. And he was out here on a boat on every island just cheating on this lady.
Right.
It's crazy.
That's not a love story.
Yeah, but I guess, you know, if you tell it the way you tell it, it is a love story.
Right. Okay. All right. You know what? I feel like those are a good set of recommendations to give to listeners. Yeah. And Teezus, where can the people find you?
You guys can find me on Instagram at just_like_teezus. I give chaotic reviews on TV shows, movies, and events that are going on. So red carpets, any red carpet coming up. We have the BAFTA Awards, the SAG Awards, and then the Oscars in March. I give red carpet reviews on all of those, as well as any recommendations that anyone might have. I really feel like I'll probably do the Maid for everybody in preparation for this podcast so that we can all watch it and review everything together, and as well as on Instagram at Life of Teezus, and that's what the and that is more so just my outside side. So you get to see the events that I go to in Chicago, around town, when I'm traveling. You just get to see a different side of me on that side. But for all reviews on chaotic TV shows, movies, really quick, really fast, really witty, with pop culture references, you can follow me at just_like_teezus on TikTok.
Right. Guys, don't forget to check out all of her links in the description. They'll be down below. And guys, thank you so much for listening. I had a really great time talking to you, Teezus, about Maid.
Thank you so much.
Of course. It was really great. And I was just honestly so happy to find somebody who loved the show as much as I did. So this is really wonderful. Guys, please go check out all of Teezus's links in the description down below. And don't forget to tell your friends and family about your new favorite podcast. I've been meaning to watch that. You know, we are on TikTok, we're on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. The video podcast comes out every Monday at 2:30. And remember that the podcast comes out every Saturday or Sunday morning around 9 a.m. on Spotify and all other places you may listen to your podcast. And we will see you guys next week with a new topic, new guests, like we do every single week. Bye.
Bye.